It's the day of big rivalries in college football. The top-ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame host the Nittany Lions of Penn State on a damp and drizzly day out in South Bend, Indiana. Coach Lou Holtz may be heading for his first national title, while Joe Paterno, who won it all 2 years ago, hopes to avert the school's first losing season in 50 years. And later today, out in Norman, Oklahoma, it'll be the Sooners and Cornhuskers. At stake for Barry Switzer and Tom Osborne, the Big 8 conference title and a trip to the Orange Bowl. And good day, everybody. I'm Jim Nance, along with the coach, Ara Parsegan. Welcome to the start of a classic college football doubleheader day here on CBS Sports. You know, it's only a minute past noon here in the East, but already we have a final score to report. This game took place in Dublin, Ireland. Boston College and Army took their teams abroad to participate in the Emerald Isle Classic, the first Division 1A football game ever in Europe. And the first score of the game, Mike Sanders ripping up the old side at Lansdowne Field Park to the delight of 44,000 as he helps lead BC to its third win of the season. Army drops to 8-2, but still headed to the Sun Bowl against Alabama. Now, there's a major story breaking down in the Southwest. Jackie Sherrill, the head coach and athletic director at Texas A&M, will not be on the sidelines today when the Aggies play Texas Christian. This is in the wake of a story that broke yesterday morning in which former Aggie fullback George Smith reportedly told the Dallas Morning News that Sherrill paid him $4,400 in hush money to keep quiet during an NCAA investigation. And Texas A&M spokesman Lane Stevenson later gave this statement.
A crucial facet of the matter, in our opinion, is that after learning of the content of the Dallas Morning News story before publication, the young man involved, called Mr. Robert Smith, the university's officer in charge of NCAA compliance matters, and essentially denied the allegations to be published. University officials are in the process of setting up a meeting as soon as possible with the young man to determine the facts in the form of a sworn statement. We also are seeking sworn statements from everyone involved, including athletic department personnel.
Now, defensive coordinator R.C. Slocum will coach the Aggies today against TCU. No word whether Sherrill will be back on the sidelines on Thanksgiving Day when the Aggies go against their longtime rivals, the University of Texas. Now, Ara, your thoughts on this story brewing out of College Station?
Well, I think we got to keep in mind that they are allegations. However, it doesn't surprise me because rumors have been floating around for years, Jim, as you well know, surrounding Texas A&M. And they had sanctions and penalties imposed this year. Whether or not there'll be more, we'll have to wait to see. All
right, doubleheader day here on CBS. And again, our first game is Penn State against Notre Dame. Ara, you've been in South Bend all week. What's the atmosphere? What's making the Irish tick this season?
Well, most of the opposing coaches say that Notre Dame has improved vastly defensively, and certainly statistics bear that out. When you look at the important statistic of scoring defense, you find they're ranked number 5 in the nation, and that's very important. The other thing is the special teams. I went for years as a football coach without a punt return or a kickoff return for a touchdown. Notre Dame leads the nation. They have 4 this year. So if I was Joe Paterno, I wouldn't kick the ball off to either one of the return people.
What do you mean? You had one down the Sugar Bowl, I remember one time, a run back.
Yeah,
at halftime. Right. And throughout the day, the coach and I will be here to update you on all the developments as well as scores and highlights, plus a look at this year's Heisman Trophy Derby. Coming up, though, game 1 of our doubleheader, Notre Dame against Penn State. Tim Brandt and John Dackery will have that action from South Bend when we continue here on CBS in just a moment.
Until we go that goal line. Don't forget, men, today's the day we're going to win. They can't lick it, and the black out of the goal. The first whistle man win there, and fight, 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 fight. What do you say, men?
Everything in Notre Dame points to a national championship. It's been a decade since the Irish made a run at the title, and behind Coach Lou Holtz, the echoes are being heard with a spirited offense led by quarterback Tony Rice. And a defense that the Gipper himself would smile upon. A win today against Penn State would add yet another golden page to the legend that is Notre Dame. For Penn State, it's been a season of misery, faced with the possibility of its first losing season in 50 years. Joe Paterno likes the idea of playing Notre Dame. The Nittany Lions have ruled this series in the 80s, winning 6 of 7, and a repeat today would restore some integrity to a lackluster season. So it's Penn State and Notre Dame today on CBS. is a series steeped in tradition and draped in memories. It's Penn State and Notre Dame. Final preparation began yesterday with the age-old tradition of painting the Notre Dame helmets. All 106 helmets painted every Friday. Folklore has it the paint is laced with genuine specks of gold. Preparation went late into the night. Students gathered with alumni to hear Lou Holtz at the pep rally at the Athletic Convocation Center. And today they congregate in the stadium designed by the legendary Newt Rockne. It's the 81st consecutive sellout, and they've come to watch Penn State and Notre Dame. The weather could certainly be a factor, a neutralizing force, since it rained all morning. More rain is predicted. This natural grass field at Notre Dame is loose, and it does get slick. The Irish are ranked #1 in the nation, and one of 4 remaining unbeaten clubs, joined in the undefeated ranks by West Virginia, Arkansas, and Southern Cal. And hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt, and this Notre Dame team is right on pace with the 1973 Irish team, which went unbeaten and eventually won the national title with a win over Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. But to get there, they first have to beat Penn State, a very inconsistent, unpredictable, but dangerous ball club. And again, I repeat, these two teams have met 7 times in the last 10 years. Penn State has won 6 of the last 7. Working with me today is John Dockery. And Doc, what can we expect today?
You know, Tim, all season long, Joe Paterno has been urging his team to step up and be counted. There's frustration there. After all, who wants to be remembered as one of the members of the first team to lose at Penn State in 50 years? So there's frustration. He's hoping for that emotional explosion today.
No question, Penn State is the heavy underdog, and yet it's a very confident club. It's a club which believes in histrionics, and they're very well aware of the fact that many #1 teams have lost late in this month of November. #1 teams which were knocked out. In 1980, #1 ranked Notre Dame needed a late 4th quarter interception by Stacy Troran to shake an unranked Georgia Tech team that stung the Irish with tough defense and forced a number of turnovers. Harry Oliver kicked the game-tying field goal for the Irish with just under 5 minutes to go. But a tie was as good as a loss in the polls, and the unranked Yellow Jackets had knocked off #1. 2 years later, Notre Dame was the unranked team against the Pitt Panthers, using 4th quarter Irish razzle-dazzle to upset #1 ranked Pitt. Blair Keel hit Joe Howard with this 54-yard flea flicker. Alan Pinkett added a 76-yard touchdown run later to seal the victory for the unranked Irish. So it can happen, but Doc, will it happen today?
Tim, it's possible, but certainly not probable, despite the fact Notre Dame had a week layoff. They're confident, they're talented, they're at home. Penn State, problems at quarterback, no dominant tailback, a kicking game that's in disarray. They're going to need help from the weather and turnovers if they're going to upset Penn State today. You know, John, the single common opponent for these two teams, the Pitt Panthers. So we went to head coach Mike Gottfried at Pitt, and we asked him what Penn State has to do to win.
Well, I think for them to beat Notre Dame, I think first of all they need to continue to play the great defense that they play. I think they're a well-coached football team, and on both sides of the ball, and of course with Coach Paterno, they'll play great defense. There's no doubt about that. Offensively, need to get some big plays. If they can get some big plays where they can get some points on the board early and then play well in the special teams, I think it could be a good football game, because I know they'll play them strong on defense. The Notre Dame option versus Penn State. Penn State's good against the option.
And he's putting a lot of pressure on that defense. What do you think about this? You
know, the defense has been the most consistent part of the Penn State team. But last night, Joe Paterno said, hey, I'm taking out all the stops. You'll see some razzle-dazzle today. Hey, these are the two most recognizable coaches in football, Joe Paterno and Lou Holtz. So we asked them how they see this matchup.
I think it's the last game of the season, and this is one that is very important to us, and we focused our attention on it. We don't look ahead, and we don't look back. When this game's over, we'll get out the schedule and find out if our season's over or not.
I don't like to be the spoilers. I want us to play well. It would be nice if we could play the kind of game you'd like to see a team play. Go out there and belly up to them, play with some enthusiasm, some confidence, and go after things and feel good about themselves after the game's over.
But when I look at a football team, I look and say, how good are they capable of playing? Penn State's capable of beating anybody in the country.
Well, sure we can beat them. Anybody can beat anybody anytime. No, we have good players. I don't, right now they're going to be very, very difficult to beat because they're not only talented, they're playing with an awful lot of enthusiasm, they're playing with all kinds of confidence.
I don't think Penn State's that much better than us. I wouldn't call it a mismatch.
All right, it's Penn State and Notre Dame. These two schools have won 9 national championships between them.
CBS Sports presents college football Live from Notre Dame Stadium in Notre Dame, Indiana, it's the Penn State Nittany Lions versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Today's CFA game is sponsored by Toyota. There's quality. Who could ask for anything more? RCA, #1 with the toughest critics in the world. And by Black & Decker, quality tools that go at the top of everyone's gift list.
Penn State is out of the tunnel. And here come the Lions. Penn State is 5-5, significant in that these players have never had a losing season. Senior guard Steve Wisniewski, who was named to the Kodak All-American team this morning, put this game in perspective for Penn State.
Well, this is the biggest game of the year for us right now. This is our bowl game. We don't have anything else to look forward to. This is the end of our season. This game will decide if we're going to have a winning season or not, or the first losing season in 50 years. We're going against the #1 team. No one expects us to win, so it's a great challenge. It's like our bowl game. It's a way to send our seniors off in style, and it's a turning stone for the younger guys to turn over a new leaf and get back on top again.
And here come the Irish. Notre Dame is unbeaten and untied. This is the 7th home game of the season for the Fighting Irish, most in school history. And a look at the master of motivation, Lou Holtz. It's Penn State and the top-ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Notre Dame won the toss and deferred. Penn State will receive. More than 59,000 have come together for this game. The Irish have won 11 games in a row on this field. The kicker will be Billy Hackett for the Irish, and deep for Penn State, Leroy Thompson. Ironic, isn't it? It's been less than 2 years since Penn State was playing for the national championship. Now the Lions are playing the spoiler role. Unbeaten, untied, Notre Dame. And we're underway. It's Thompson. Takes the short kick, and he's across the 25 to the 27-yard line.
Quarterback for
Penn, return.
Excuse me, Tim. Quarterback for Penn State, Lance Lonergan, gets his 3rd start in place of Tony Sacca. The running backs, Gary Brown and Sam Gash, neither one of Blair Thomas. The man they have to get the ball to if they're going to win today, Penn State, is Michael Timpson. World-class speed on the outside. The other receiver, David Daniels.
Well, I tell you, Doc, I think you hit it right on the nose when you talked about Blair Thomas. As you look at Dave Jacob, the tight end. Right now, Penn State is playing without a Blair Thomas type running back. And that Joe Paterno type offense needs one. Right now, it's Gash and Brown. Lonergan throws on first down to his tight end, Jacob. And he's out to the 34-yard line.
Penn State said they were going to open it up today. First play of the game, Lonergan on a very safe pass to his tight end. The offensive line, suspect at times this year, the center, Roger Duffy. The guards, Vinalia, and their best offensive lineman, the All-American Steve Wisniewski. The tackles, Tim Freeman and Eric Janssen.
2nd down and 2, the ball on the 35. Timpson in motion. They give it out straight ahead to the running back, Gary Brown. And he's hit almost immediately by George Williams, big number 69, 6'3", 282-pound sophomore.
And you look at that defensive line for Penn State. Chris Zorich is in the middle. The man who just made the tackle, Williams. George Williams at one tackle, Jeff Alm at the other. The linebackers, Flash Gordon, the senior, starts. Frank Stams, the hero of the Miami game. The inside linebackers, Wes Pritchard, and one of the 5 best in the country, Michael Stonebreaker.
And don't forget Ned Bolcar, the other linebacker who doesn't start but was an AP All-American last year. 3rd down and 2. Lonergan keeps right side, and he'll be awfully close to the first down. Tackle made by Todd Light.
Notre Dame defensive backs, the corners, Todd Light, Stan Smagala. The safeties, George Streeter, the big hitter in the secondary, and the leader back there, and senior Corny Southall.
Notre Dame cornerbacks are speedsters, Light and Smagala, 4'3" and 4'4" guys. But it was interesting last night as they bring out the chains for the first measurement, John. Joe Paterno telling us, hey, they may try a couple razzle-dazzle things.
And it was funny. He said, well, that reverse is razzle-dazzle for me. First down. Of course, Joe Paterno has taken some criticism this year for his conservative style. He's always been conservative, though. That's his formula for success.
First down, Nittany Lions. The ball marked on the 37. Just underway at Notre Dame Stadium. 13 minutes, 30 seconds remain in the first quarter. Tim Brandt and John Dockery with you. Long count by Lance Lonergan. And the give. Browner on the left side, and he may lose a yard. George Streeter, the strong safety, got there first. He got assist from Todd Light, the cornerback out of Flint, Michigan.
You know, just mentioning that success formula that Paterno has had for his 23 years. You know, he's a guy that's always wanted solid defense. He's wanted a good mistake-free offense with a dominant running back. Of course, you mentioned the fact that Blair Thomas is out for the year. And he's wanted a good kicking game. He hasn't had that offensive consistency. He's made mistakes, and his kicking game has been abysmal.
Second down and 10, Penn State. Lonergan to throw. Should be a flag. There is none. There they come now late. Pass interference will be called against Notre Dame. Hey, I was wondering when those flags were going to come because there sure was contact made on Odell Wilson.
Incomplete flags on the play.
For pass interference on the defense, it'll be an automatic first down.
What's interesting, Tim, is that, yes, Corny Southall looked like he got there early, but Lonergan had a lot of time to throw that ball. Not much of a rush from that front three of Notre Dame.
So it'll be first down, Penn State at the 50. It's critical, I think, in the Penn State camp. They feel that they've got to score early. They've got to put the pressure on the Irish.
Well, the Irish have never really come from behind. They've been ahead in most of the games all year long.
High formation, two split receivers, play action, and again Lonergan goes up top, and it's complete inside the 30. No, dropped. It was intended for Odell Wilson, who had the ball but had it shaken loose.
What nice touch on the ball by Lonergan. Wilson had his shot. The ball was thrown over the linebacker in front of the safety, and Lonergan does not have the big arm. Cannot throw deep, but he's got that intermediate soft touch. He showed it right there, Tim.
Boy, that was a great touch. The ball was knocked loose by Corny Southall, but I thought it was complete. He had it certainly until Southall arrived. Second down and 10, ball at the 50 for Penn State. Now they show a rip formation, two wide receivers to the bottom of the screen. It's Smith and Wilson. And on the draw play, Penn State loses a yard. Tackle made by Chris Zorich and Jeff Alm.
Holtz was concerned coming into this game. He had a week off. His team before that week off was hot. They were on fire. They were playing well. He was concerned that they might lose some of the momentum. But he put them through a hard week of practice. You know, we were there on Thursday night. They were out for 3 hours in the cold.
Brown now 3 carries, 2 yards. 3rd and 12 for Lonergan. Drills this ball complete to his wide receiver, David Daniels. And it'll be close to a first down. They mark it at the 40. And the tackle was made by Todd Light.
You know, it appears to be a little bit short. And the reason that it's a little bit short is Daniels caught that ball, didn't have the presence of mind to know where the first down was, came back to try to get extra yardage. And I think they're going to be a speck short. They're going to measure.
Doc, they're going to bring out the chains. They will measure, but it's reminiscent of their game against Pitt. The last game that Penn State played. Late in that ball game, trailing by a touchdown. It was 4th down and a long 2, maybe 3. And Joe Paterno opted to go for the field goal, which Penn State missed. He said last night, you know, I blew that call. I should have gone for it.
And he even went further than that. He said, I lost my nerve. I didn't have the guts to do it, and my team needed it.
This much short.
Now that tells it all, just that far.
And the reason is short is that Daniels actually, when he catches the ball, watch the replay, is beyond the 40-yard stripe. That's where the first down. Here he is, watch. Catches the ball right there for 40. If he went right down, instead of trying to get that extra yards, then he might have come up with the first down. I know he had to come back for the ball, but still, had he gone right down, he would have had the first down.
It'll bring 4th down in less than a yard. Joe Paterno sends in another tight end, Todd Young. He leaves Lance Lonergan as quarterback in the ball game. Number 15, you see him there. And Penn State's going on 4th down.
And this is a place where a coach is saying, you know what, guys, I have confidence in you. We have absolutely nothing to lose. Let's get the first down. Let's control the ball and come up with some points early and get ahead.
Is there a more familiar face in college football today? 19 bowl appearances, 12 bowl wins for Joe Paterno, second only to Bear Bryant. 4th down and short, Nittany Lions. There is a flag. Lonergan appears to have the first down, but again, I tell you, there is a flag, and it was thrown by the referee behind the offense. And it's against Penn State.
Such a simple play. Lonergan took an awful long time at the line of scrimmage for a quarterback sneak. Now, the offensive linemen were calling some of the blocks, but still, very simple play.
Illegal motion. First down.
And when you have that much time, Tim, it makes your offense edgy, and you can get a penalty like an illegal motion.
So now Doug Hilkowski comes on to punt. He's got a 39-yard average. He's had 3 blocked this year, as long as his 54. Ricky Waters is deep for Notre Dame, and Waters is second in the country in punt returns. He'll be standing on his own 10. It's a high spiraling punt, turns over, and Waters will fair catch it at about the 12-yard line. 33-yard punt, no return. So with 10:55 remaining in the first quarter, we're scoreless in South Bend, Indiana. Penn State drove to the Notre Dame 40, held the ball 4 minutes, and came away with no points. Two familiar foes, these two. This series began in 1913 when a student by the name of Knute Rockne captained the Irish against Penn State. Another piece of football history is being celebrated at Notre Dame, and with that story, here's our colleague Leslie Visser. Leslie?
Tim, it was 60 years ago this month that Knute Rockne delivered one of the most impassioned pep talks in history. The speech that still hangs in the Notre Dame locker room. George Gipp, of course, on his deathbed, asked Rockne to win one for the Gipper. There's an interesting footnote to this story. The Fighting Irish lost their last 2 games that season. George Gipp, after all, asked to win just one for the Gipper. Tim?
All right, Leslie. It's first down, Notre Dame. First possession for the Irish this afternoon. 10:55 remaining first quarter. Green and Banks are the setbacks now in the I formation. 2 wide receivers, Ishmael and Eilers. Right side they go with their tailback Green. Green spins his way up across the 20 to the 21-yard line.
At quarterback for Notre Dame, a more confident, a better throwing Tony Rice. The Iron Man, Mark Green, started every game for Notre Dame this year. Anthony Johnson, the fullback. The receivers, Pat Eilers, and the man they call the Rocket, Ishmael. The tight end, Frank Jacob.
It'll be second down and 2 for Notre Dame. I formation again, twin receivers, bottom of the screen. That's Ishmael and Eilers. Big hole left side. Banks carries it to the 37-yard line. Braxton Banks, 6'3", 211-pound junior. Gain of 16.
And credit this one to the offensive line. Watch the blocking up front. This hole is wide open. They just caved down the Penn State defense to make that big first down.
Gerard Range made the tackle. There's a good look at Banks. 5 receptions, 1 touchdown catch on the year. Tough runner inside. Straight ahead they bang as Rodney Culver, number 5. And they will play some folks, Doc.
They certainly will. And this is a rebuilt offensive line. Mike Helt is the center. Tim Ryan and Tim Grunhardt are the guards. Really the strength of this offensive line. The 2 big men averaging 280-pound, Dean Brown and Andy Heck, the converted tight end, at the tackles.
It'll be second down and 6. The ball is on the 40. Lou Holtz dressed 106 players for this final home game of the year against Penn State. I formation, play action option. Rice keeps it himself. Across the 50 into Penn State territory to the 48-yard line. Rich Schoenwolf made the tackle. Gain of 12.
Penn State on defense solid all year. Dave Zott is the nose man, flanked by Rich Schoenwolf and Bob Morosco at the tackles. All right, there are the linebackers. Scott Gobb, Andre Collins, one of the finer young linebackers in the country. Neil Hamilton, Quintus McDonald, the outside linebackers.
Rocket Ishmael goes to the top of the screen. Eilers is the inside guy. Here again, they go with the running back, Mark Green. He bangs his way. Maybe a yard. Tackle was made by Dave Zott.
Defensive backs. Willie Thomas may see some action today. He has some back spasms. We might see Darren Perry. Sherrod Range, that is, the other cornerback. The safeties, Eddie Johnson. And the hero position, Keith Karpinski.
Joe Paterno, the statesman of State College, in his 23rd year at Penn State, won 16 regular season finales. Second down and 10. Rice fakes the option, throws right side. Waters wide open at the 29. Down inside the 20, finally stopped at the 17-yard line. Ricky Waters, the tackle made by the hero back, Keith Karpinski, gain of 32.
One of the reasons he was so wide open was the hero back, Keith Karpinski, number 84, bought the fake, did not get back in coverage as they rolled away, left it wide open right there for a big gain.
Notre Dame moving methodically now. First down at the 17. 8:07 remaining first period. Penn State moved down to the Irish 40. Couldn't score. Here come the Irish now. Again, play action. They option the right side, and this time it's covered nicely by Neil Hamilton. Tony Rice reads that defensive end, Doc, about as well as any quarterback I've seen other than Major Harris.
Of course, he's like those quarterbacks that Penn State has faced recently, Major Harris, Darnell Dickerson. He's one of the option quarterbacks that gives you that extra dimension of being able to run. And Tony Rice has improved as a passer. You saw a good throw to Ricky Waters a moment ago. Dickerson ran for 62 yards, passed for 104 for Pitt against Penn State in their last outing on that option. Second down and 9. Rides Banks into the line. Rice keeps it himself down inside the 15. Andre Collins makes the tackle. You talk about Tony Rice. He has more rushing yardage than any quarterback in Irish history. Of course, the Irish have had a lot of good throwers in Montana and Hanratty and Theismann, but he's the man that's been the best running quarterback, over 500 yards coming into this game. One scout said his technique is raw, but his heart is solid. He's a leader with a lot of natural talent. And you know, you get a sense, you get a sense talking to him that he's much more confident, more comfortable mentally with the offense. Straight ahead to give to Green inside the 10 to the 7-yard line. Scott Gobb makes the tackle. And credit this again to the offensive line. Rick Schoenwolf, the defensive tackle.
Our time for a measurement. We're going to measure.
Go ahead, Doc.
Rick Schoenwolf, the defensive tackle, was taken to the ground. Great block by Dean Brown and Tim Grunhard. That opened it up for the big game. Right now, Mark Green is 10th on the all-time Notre Dame career rushing list. He needs just 60 yards to pass one of the old four horsemen, Don Miller. Just that far. And you talk about Mark Green, he's kind of a glider, a slasher. Watch him there. Got good quickness, not great speed, but a steady, unselfish back for the Fighting Irish. This has been a Penn State defense which has been strong against the run this year. This will be the 10th play of the drive coming up. It started on the Notre Dame 12. Brooks and Banks into the ball game now. Two tight ends for the Irish. Fourth down and less than one. First down, Notre Dame. Tony Brooks. Brooks is playing with a stress fracture in his left foot. And watch Tony Brooks. He's the big back, 6'2", 220 pounds. He's going behind the right side of that offensive line. Dean Brown, all 6'3", 285 pounds. Easy first down. First down and goal. The ball at the 3. Power formation, two tight ends.
Right side is Green, and he's met almost immediately by Scott Gobb, the 6-foot senior out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
You know, you look at this Penn State defense, they don't have that dominant linebacker that they've had in the past, you know, the Lance Mills or the Shane Conlins. They just have a good group, although Andre Collins, number 31, may develop into that kind of a linebacker.
Bone-chilling day in South Bend, Indiana. Temperature just under 43 degrees when the game started. Two tight ends again. Power formation. Wishbone attack. Second and goal. Rice on the left side. Has a man in the end zone if he wants him. Instead, scores himself. His all the way.
How cool can you be, though? Tony Rice that time had the option to flip the ball to his second tight end, Rod West, who was open in the end zone, or else fake out the safety, Eddie Johnson, and take it in himself. He was very cool, just took it in for the touchdown.
Reggie Ho on to attempt the extra point. Peter Graham, the quarterback, is the holder. The kick is up, and it's good.
Now you can watch what I was talking about. A good fake, the bootleg here, and watch Rice. Right now, he's got a receiver open. He fakes. That causes the defensive back to dive and miss. Takes it into the end zone for the touchdown. If you get another angle, take a look at the good faking right here by Tony Rice. That's the first good thing. Now, watch him fake the pass. That's West in the end zone. He could have just flipped it, but he causes number 39, Eddie Johnson, to jump and fall, and touchdown. You be the linebacker.
Hey, watch number 39. He's the key, the strong safety. He's the guy that gets caught up. He doesn't know whether to defend or come up for the run stoppage, and he gets good.
He's between, though, Tim. If he comes up, he's damned because he passes. If he doesn't, he runs it in for a touchdown.
The drive went 87 yards, took 12 plays, and lasted 5 minutes, 43 seconds. The big play, a 32-yard pass, Rice to Waters to the Penn State 16, and then Rice took it in on the option.
And you know, Tim, that has to be a confidence builder both for Rice and for Waters, who hasn't caught a pass in the last 2 games. Waters, they've been using more at tailback recently.
Good look at Billy Hackett. He'll be kicking off for Notre Dame. Return man for Penn State, Leroy Thompson and Gary Brown. This one will go to Thompson, and he'll take it at the 8.
Let's take another look at the touchdown. It's a perfect illustration of the run-pass pressure an option quarterback can put on your team. Watch Tony Rice. First, the good fake. And then right here, imagine yourself Eddie Johnson. Rice is here. He can run or throw. He fakes. See Rice? He fakes right there. There's Johnson, doesn't know whether to come forward or drop back. He comes forward, he throws, touchdown. He doesn't throw, he runs it in for the touchdown.
First down, Penn State at the 25. Lonergan to throw and has it complete at the 45-yard line. Michael Timpson made a diving catch. Great concentration by the senior from Miami.
And Michael Timpson is a world-class speed. He was a guy that all his life wanted to be on the Olympic team. As a matter of fact, he tried out for the Olympics in the 200 meters. Unfortunately, he was in a heat with Carl Lewis, didn't make it. Now he can concentrate on football.
It'll be first down at the 45 for the Irish. Terry Smith replaces Michael Timpson in the lineup. Straight ahead is Brown, big hole right side, and he's into Notre Dame territory to the 47. Wes Pritchard makes the tackle. And Notre Dame got down to the 40 in their first drive and came away without any points. Gain of 12. The way it looks out in the Big 8, Nebraska unbeaten, Oklahoma unbeaten. The Oklahoma Sooners roll into the traditional Big 8 showdown against Nebraska this afternoon in Norman, Oklahoma. Big 8 title on the line along with the Orange Bowl. Here in South Bend, it's 7-0 Notre Dame. Big hole straight ahead for Gash. Gash is open at the 22-yard line. Sam Gash, 225-pound sophomore from Hendersonville, North Carolina, and he had to be caught from behind by Arnold Ale and Todd Light.
And what a difference a guy like Sam Gash makes to the Penn State offense. He's that big back, 6'1", 220 pounds, 225 pounds. You know, he broke a bone in his ankle, missed a bunch of games, and Penn State offense has missed him, big and strong.
Sam Gash again, right side, bangs his way, carrying tackles down to the 17-yard line.
You know, Tim, I know that you played against the Penn State offense. They've always had that great tailback. I talked to Blair Thomas, you know, during the season, as you watch the replay right here, good power up the middle. They don't have a Blair Thomas type of back. They have some decent backs in Gary Brown, Sam Gash, but they don't have a guy who can break a game wide open. Blair Thomas told me he has some options. He can either redshirt, come back next year, or else declare for the NFL draft. It says he's feeling good.
Second down, call it 6. Lonergan to the end zone, incomplete. Broken up nicely out on the corner. It was intended by David Daniels, and George Streeter just knocked it away. But Daniels looked like he came clean just for a second.
Daniels did. The ball wasn't thrown that well. It was thrown on a line. It could have been thrown up and out and over, giving Daniels a shot to get it. Streeter had good position on the inside. See how low the ball was thrown? Actually, Daniels did a pretty good job, or else Streeter might have come up with the interception in the end zone.
It'll be 3rd down and 6. The ball on the 17. Jacob now, the tight end, switches to the left side. Lonergan will play action. Intercepted. Jeff Alm, his 3rd interception of the year, and now he's the interception leader for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and he's a right tackle. But he's 6'7", has a wingspan that's the biggest in college football, and he gets his 3rd interception of the year.
And if Lance Lonergan throws that ball with a little touch, you'll see his running back, Sam Gash, open in the end zone. Instead, he throws it on a line. It is tipped by Alley, the linebacker, number 97, and Alm comes up with the interception. All he needed was a little touch. His running back was wide open and might have gone in for the touchdown.
First down, Notre Dame. When's the last time you saw a defensive tackle with 3 interceptions?
You don't see defensive backs with 3 interceptions.
This is Waters in the left flat to the 21-yard line. Good open field tackle made out there by Darren Perry.
I'm just very surprised to see Lance Lonergan, who has that kind of touch. He knows what to do. Instead, he throws it on a line right at a defensive lineman who tips it, and then Notre Dame comes up with the interception.
Keep in mind, this is only the 3rd start ever for Lance Lonergan. He is a senior, 5'11", 195-pounder, but he has not started that much. Tom Bill started the season. Tony Sacca took over, and Lance Lonergan. It's 2nd down and 6 for the Irish. Big hole in the middle for Mark Green, and Green carries it across the 25-yard line. They'll mark it at the 27. Andre Collins made the tackle.
Mark Green is the bread and butter runner for the Irish. Watch the pulling guards. Andy Heck also pulling from tackle. Good blocking. Green comes up with about 5 yards.
Green came into this game with 567 yards, 5-yard average. He also is the leading receiver with 12 catches. Wants to get into broadcasting, Doc.
Doesn't everybody? Came up with more than 5 yards. Very close to the first down, Tim. But I was just about to say that Penn State, interesting that their offense has been able to move the ball against the Notre Dame defense, but missed opportunities. You're playing the #1 team in the country. You're in their stadium. You want to quiet the fans. This is the kind of frustration Joe Paterno has been feeling all season long. 4th and inches, they get a penalty and miss on the first drive. Then Lonergan has his running back open in the flat for a touchdown. He doesn't throw it with touch. It's intercepted. Now Notre Dame has the ball back.
Pretty impressive record for Joe Paterno. I don't think there's a more familiar name in college football. Record is phenomenal. It'll be 3rd down and inches. Dean Brown comes out at right tackle. Winston Sandry comes in for the Irish. Power formation right side, and he's shut down pretty quickly in the short yardage defense by the Nittany Lions.
You know, it's amazing how good this offensive line has become. Beginning of the year, none of them had experience. That time, the Penn State defense, submarine got under them, and it's going to be...
measure again. Right there.
That's how close it is.
That's how close it is. Good job by the deep. I was just about to say, remember last year when they had all those good senior offensive linemen for Notre Dame, the Chuck Lonzes, the Tom Raiders. This year they've had to rebuild totally, and people were concerned early in the year about their offensive line. No concern now. They get the first down.
Rocket Ismail comes back in for the Irish as you look at Lou Holtz. So far, it's been all Notre Dame. 7-0 with 2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in the first quarter. High formation, Rice to throw. Good pump fake. Now drops it into the flats to his tight end, Frank Jacobs. And Jacobs is to the 40-yard line. Gain of 13, Darren Perry. The left cornerback made the tackle there.
Boy, can a pump fake drive a defense crazy. It causes everybody on the defense to react. That time, Tony Rice pump fake and then evaded the rush. Presence of mind. That's part of his development at quarterback. Presence of mind finds the open receiver.
Rice now 3 for 3, 49 yards. First down, Notre Dame. Rice on the corner to the 47-yard line. Neil Hamilton made the stop there. Rice came into this game with 111 carries, 894 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. If there's a knock against Tony Rice, it's that his mechanics and throwing the ball are not that smooth, and yet he threw for almost 4,000 yards in high school in South Carolina. Second down and 3. Neil Hamilton makes the stop on Green. He'll still be shy of the first down.
Great reaction by Neil Hamilton, the left linebacker for Penn State on that play. Read it, came across behind the play to make the tackle.
Green comes out of the ball game. Brooks comes in. As you look at that Penn State defense. Third down and 2, the ball at the 48. Again, it's the I formation. 2 tight ends, power. Penn State jumps and there's flags.
The dead ball foul. We have illegal contact by the defense before the snap.
Looked like maybe Dave Zott was jumping, and Joe Paterno doesn't like the call.
Joe Paterno just hasn't been able to get a consistent performance from his football team. He has a right to be angry, but it was the nose guard.
Contact foul by the defense. It'll be a first down.
To me, it was a nose guard. A little anxious. Jumped off sides.
Second penalty of the game for Penn State. The first one just negated a first down, and they had to punt it away. Here it's first down Notre Dame at the 46-yard line. This will be the last play of the first quarter. Rice right side to the 45-yard line, and that'll be all he gets. So that's the end of the first quarter. With a score, Notre Dame 7, Penn State nothing. College football on CBS Sports will return after this message and a word from your local station. The first 15 minutes are gone, and as we start the second period, Notre Dame leads Penn State 7-0. Notre Dame started their scoring drive on their own 12, went 87 yards, 12 plays. The big play was a 32-yard pass, Rice to Waters, and then a bootleg by Rice from 2 yards out made it 7-0. That's where we are. The Irish have held the ball 8 minutes and 53 seconds in this ball game thus far. It's second down and 9, ball at the 45. Little swing pass to Green. Green gets a good block. He's inside the 30, all the way down to the Penn State 25-yard line. Mark Green. Gain of 20 for the senior from Riverside, California. The tackle was made by Andre Collins.
He gets some good blocking from both his center, Mike Helt, and his guard, Tim Ryan, pulling out. Take a look at them out in front there. Good block. And then he makes the rest of it on his own. Good game before finally being tackled by Andre Collins.
Rice sends 2 receivers to the top of the screen. It's Waters and Ishmael. Miscommunication in the backfield, and Braxton Banks struggles forward for maybe a yard. Dave Zott made the tackle, and John, it doesn't look to me as if Notre Dame is really in a flow either.
I was going to say that. Penn State had its opportunities. The first drive, but for a penalty, they'd still be moving. Second drive, they had a chance. I don't sense that Notre Dame is as hot as they were before that week layoff. Lou Holtz talked about it. He said, you know, we had that week off. It can help you. It can hurt you. We were hot. I don't know if it's going to help us.
Boston College beats Army. 2nd down and 9 for Notre Dame. This is Green. Looks for a block on the corner. To the 17-yard line goes Mark Green. Darren Perry and Eddie Johnson will get credit for knocking him out of bounds, but the play was really made on the corner when Green stepped outside and broke containment.
Exactly, and he put a great fake on Keith Karpinski, the man who plays the hero position for Penn State. Hero position, what does it mean? It's kind of a cross between a linebacker and a defensive back, and if you look at Karpinski, he's a rather oversized, strong safety, which is what it's equivalent, 6'4", 225.
3rd down and 3 Irish. The option to the wide side of the field. Rice has the first down inside the 15. And again, Dave Zott tripped him. Tim Brandt and John Dockery with you at Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, Indiana. The Irish, unbeaten, untied, with a 9-0 record and heading toward that national championship. Lead this game 7-0 with 13 minutes, 15 seconds remaining in the first half. This is the 12th play of the drive coming. It started on the Notre Dame 17. Spinning move by Culver. And he's down to the Penn State 10. Andre Collins made the tackle. Collins is a former safety. Leads the team in tackles. He had 10 stops against Pitt and 1 fumble recovery.
They think before he's through. He's only a junior that Andre Collins can be one of those great linebackers, so many that have come through Penn State. You mentioned he started out as a safety. Has great speed, quickness, and lateral movement.
Culver and Brooks now line up behind Rice in the aisle. 2nd and 6. Brooks spins at the 5. Touchdown, Notre Dame. There is a flag. Tony Brooks, a 6'2", 218-pound sophomore from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Of holding? Yeah.
And this touchdown will be negated. They'll bring it back. The penalty is against Notre Dame.
You know, you talk about Tony Brooks as he comes over to say hello to his coach there. Tony Brooks is playing with a stress fracture in his foot, much like the one that Bobby Humphrey had and Keith Byers had, kept them out. He's that tough, wants to play that much. He says he's about 80–85%, and on certain cuts, when he cuts hard, he'll feel some pain, but Tony Brooks, a major force for the Irish.
They're holding on the offense. They'll still be 2nd down.
So it'll be 2nd down now. Call it 16. That's the 2nd penalty against Notre Dame. Brooks, who came out of the ball game, went back in almost like he was carrying a play, now comes back out. This is the first time ever a Lou Holtz coach team has been 9-0 and ranked number 1. Notre Dame looks confused, and with 8 seconds remaining on the 25-second clock, they get it squared away. Rodney Culver and Brooks now are the setbacks. This is Rice to throw. Does, and it's intercepted by Penn State. Sherrod Raines makes the interception, and that's the first turnover of the game, and now flags fly around the football. First turnover of the ball game for Notre Dame.
This is simply a defensive back making a great ball reaction. Number 36, Sherrod Rain.
And I think we're going to have a personal foul, John.
We have a dead ball foul. We have an unsportsmanlike conduct against the return team, against Penn State. It'll be Penn State's ball. It'll be first down and more than 10.
Again, a silly mistake.
A silly mistake here. The fake. Tony Rice is waiting. He actually throws this ball with pretty good velocity. It's just a great reaction time by the defensive back, Sherrod Rain from Penn State. He was looking for his tight end, Frank Jacobs.
This is one of the more penalized teams that Joe Paterno's had at Penn State. And that one there was unnecessary. So 2 costly penalties against the Nittany Lions. That'll frustrate a coach, no matter how long he's been in the game. First down and 18. The ball is marked at the 8. Thompson and Gash are the setbacks for Lonergan. Thompson. The door closes on him in a hurry. George Williams got there first, along with Wes Pritchett. Pritchett tied for the tackling lead with 95 and 2 sacks. That Irish defense.
And what an Irish defense. You look at those linebackers, the Mike linebacker, the strong linebacker, Wes Pritchett, 6'6", 250 pounds. Of course, the other linebacker, Michael Stonebreaker, one of the Butkus finalists, one of the best 5 linebackers in the country. 2nd
and 19. Thompson breaks outside. He'll be knocked out of bounds on the 13 by Pat Terrell. You know, 4 times this year, the Irish defense has held opponents to 89 yards rushing or less.
They're outstanding defense, and not overwhelming. We mentioned the good linebackers up front. They're fairly young. Williams is a sophomore. Zorich, the nose man, a sophomore. The junior is Alm. They've come together. They pursue. They get to the ball. And again, Stonebreaker has been the catalyst at linebacker.
Terry Smith, David Daniels, now the wideouts for Penn State on 3rd and 14. The Nittany Lions run the waggle, and the ball's incomplete. Almost intercepted. It was intended for Terry Smith, and George Streeter almost had the interception.
We mentioned Lance Lonergan not having the strong arm. That time he floated the ball up. Streeter made a good ball reaction, but couldn't hold on to the interception. Again, Penn State passes up an opportunity.
So I'm sorry, Doc. Doug Hilkowski comes on. He had, again, there's 3 kicks have been blocked. And deep for Notre Dame is Ricky Waters, and he'll be standing at the Penn State 49. Notre Dame has on the return. This is a high spiraling punt that'll take Waters all the way back to the 38-yard line. And good coverage by Penn State. So a booming kick and fine coverage. 49-yard punt, 1-yard return, and the tackle was made by Darren Perry, the safety. Cold, damp, raw day in South Bend, Indiana. 11 minutes and 15 seconds remain in the half, and it's 7-0 Notre Dame. Notre Dame leads Penn State by a touchdown, and right now, let's visit with Leslie Visser. Leslie?
Tim, I'm down here with a gentleman who was on the cover of Time magazine 22 years ago, former Irish quarterback Terry Hanratty, and a generation later, his daughter is a freshman here, Kelly. Kelly, what were your thoughts of Notre Dame growing up?
Well, I always heard all about it all growing up, and the strong academics and the tradition of Notre Dame just made me really want to go here.
Kelly also plays on the varsity soccer team here. Terry, you played on a national championship at Notre Dame. How does this team compare?
Well, Leslie, I think it's tough to compare. I think we had a few good people that could have played today. But overall, I think the size and the team speed today is just so much different than it was back in '66.
Stay dry. Back to you, Tim.
All right, Leslie, pretty fair country quarterback there. Boy, how time flies.
And you know, he talks about the Notre Dame team speed. That's the biggest difference in this Notre Dame team as opposed to the last couple of years.
First down, Notre Dame at the 40. Tony Rice to throw. Backside pressure, and he's incomplete. The ball was intended for his back, Braxton Banks.
You know, every team you talk to, you ask them, well, how do you beat Notre Dame? How do you deal with a quarterback like Tony Rice? And everybody will tell you, you know what you do? you shut down the run, and you force Tony Rice and Notre Dame to beat you throwing the ball.
Lou Holtz's goal is to get 215 yards passing each week. Notre Dame averages only 126, but the Irish have improved throughout the season. Rice now 4 of 6, 69 yards. It's second down and 10 from the 40. Throws this one across his body. Waters wide open. Brilliant catch at the 38, and he drags the tackle down to the 32.
We mentioned Ricky Waters hasn't had a catch in 2 games. He's already gotten 2 big ones today, and people were wondering why Waters was having so much trouble catching the ball. I think he wasn't touching the ball that often, Tim, so every ball that came, he thought it was so important, he was fighting it. Today, watch this, goes up, catches it with his hands, pulls it in for a good gain for the Irish.
He's got 4.4 speed. He's only a sophomore. It'll be first down at the 33 for Notre Dame. Now they run the option this way. Tony Rice, big hole, down to the 25-yard line. Andre Collins made the tackle. Coming up at halftime, the Prudential at the half college football report with scores and highlights. Jim Nance, Eric Parsegian are there. They'll bring you up to date on all the scores, and they also have a Heisman update for you. Rice now 9 carries, 37 yards. Tony Brooks comes back into the ball game along with Rodney Carver. This is Brooks, right side of the 23-yard line, and Culver got a good block on that one. Again, it's Andre Collins. Collins is an interesting story, isn't he?
Oh, he certainly is. Collins is, you know, his family. He has 19 brothers and sisters. He's got 12 brothers, 11 brothers and 7 sisters, and he is the 12th. What's interesting, though, 11 out of the 12, first 12, have gone to college and graduated. What an accomplishment in this day and age.
That's impressive. I'll tell you what, that'll make you competitive. He knew what a depth chart was before he ever got to college. First down and 10, the ball on the 23 for Notre Dame. Mark Green breaks a tackle to the 10. Green, touchdown Notre Dame. Mark Green. Yard run by Mark Green, and it's 13-0 Irish.
And the Irish just seem to lull you to sleep. They're not a big play type of team. Mark Green made people miss, tiptoed down the sidelines for the touchdown.
Reggie Ho for the extra point. He's got 1 this afternoon. Graham the holder. Snap is good. And it's now 14-0 the Irish.
Take a look at it from the ground. Mark Green gets some reasonable blocking. Look at Ismail downfield, but watch his feet along the sidelines. Keeps his balance and then just tiptoes, tight ropes down the sideline for the touchdown.
His 5th touchdown of the year, and it's 14-0 Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame 14, Penn State nothing with 9:35 remaining in the first half.
And watch the great block by the freshman, Rodney Culver. He comes in here, occupies a linebacker, and Green fakes inside, comes outside, takes it down the sideline for the touchdown.
60-yard drive. It took 5 plays, only 1:40. Big play was Rice to Waters, 27 yards to the Penn State 32. And then, of course, the touchdown run here. Green, who tiptoes down that sideline and scores for the Irish. Not quite like we expected. Notre Dame will be kicking off. That's Billy Hackett will be the guy to do those honors. Oldest university band in continual existence. Leroy Thompson and Gary Brown are back for Penn State. This is Thompson. Needs a block to the 34-yard line.
2 impressive scoring drives for Notre Dame. This one, 5 plays, 61 yards. Mark Green, great move. down the sidelines, 22-yard touchdown. Gives Notre Dame that 14-0 lead. Been impressive on the ground so far, Notre Dame has.
Well, they have been that. 9 minutes, 28 seconds remain in the half.
I was just about to say, Tony Rice has completed the key pass as well.
First down, they put it at the 33 for Penn State. Lonergan still the quarterback. This is the pitch back to Brown. Brown makes a nice nifty move up to the 38-yard line. It's now time to present this week's Toyota Leadership Award to team players who have been singled out by their school's coaching and faculty staff for outstanding performance in the areas of team contributions, academics, and citizenship. Today's game team leadership winners are Keith Karpinski from Penn State. Keith is a health education major from Hamtramck, Michigan, and Pat Eilers from Notre Dame. Pat is an engineering and biology major from St. Paul, Minnesota. So Toyota will donate a check in the amount of $1,000 to each school's general scholarship fund. That pass incomplete. It was intended for Gary Brown, number 27.
Tim, you said a moment ago that Lance Lonergan was still the quarterback for Penn State. I think that's a good point because he replaced Tony Sacca 3 games ago. Of course, Tony Sacca, the freshman, first freshman ever to start for Joe Paterno, forced into action when Tom Bill, the quarterback, was hurt against Rutgers. So problems at the quarterback and the running back position for Penn State all season long.
3rd down and 5 for Lonergan. Rolls right, looks for Daniels, and this ball is knocked away. Frank Stam's got a hand on it. And it was intended for David Daniels.
Who can forget Frank Stam's, a one-man wrecking crew in the Miami win. He harassed Steve Walsh all afternoon.
So the defense gets a standing ovation as it comes off the field, and Doug Hilkowski will come on to punt for Penn State, rather. That's the 2nd time in a row Penn State's come on. 3 plays and a punt. This is not a good punt. It hits at the 45, gets a Penn State bounce, and rolls down to close to the 25-yard line, and that's where it'll be downs. Tempers flare now. They actually got a break, Penn State, on that punt, John. Went off the side of his foot, just got a Penn State roll.
You got about a 15-yard roll, and you can see the frustration. Penn State frustrated all year long. They think things might have been different, a couple of plays here or there, and they believe they could have been 8-2. As a matter of fact, they pointed 3 plays, Tim, and we'll talk about them after this commercial.
Actually, it was a 22-yard punt and roll to make it 36 yards. For Penn State, there has to be wonderment this year. A lot of what-ifs in at least 3 games this year. 5-point loss to Rutgers, 5-point loss to Alabama, and last week 7-point loss to Pitt. Oh, so close.
You know, when I was at that Alabama game, Tony Sacca hits Michael Timpson with a bomb. It's called back on a holding penalty on Wisniewski. That would have turned the game around. Rutgers had a man open in the end zone against Pitt. A couple of defensive breakdowns. This team might have been, all those might have been, 8-2 instead of 5-5.
14-0 here, Notre Dame. Rice 5 of 7 for 96 yards passing. 3 of those were to Waters. This is Tony Brooks around the right side. Pushes the pile up to the 32-yard line. 8:25 remaining in the half. Tackle made by Quintus McDonald. McDonald decided to go to Southern Cal at a high school, and he called the coaches at USC to tell them, hey, I'm coming, after they had heavily recruited him. But nobody answered the phone, so he picked it up and called Penn State. They answered, and he's a Nittany Lion.
He said, can I come? And Fran Ganta said, of course you can come. We'd be happy to have you.
Islandez and Waters go to the top of the screen. Twin receivers to the top. 2nd down and 4 for Notre Dame. And again, it's Brooks who stumbles his way up to the 35. Right now, let's go downstairs. Here's Leslie Visser.
Hi, Tim. If you ever wondered how they keep the balls dry on a wet day, Notre Dame has a group of student assistants who keep 6 dry balls in this fashionable garbage bag. They exchange the ball after every play and hand it to the field judge. They say they're courtly enough to do the same for Penn State. Back to you, Tim.
All right, Leslie. It'll be 3rd down and 1 for Notre Dame. They've been 3 for 4 on 3rd down conversions. They're very successful. Straight ahead. Brooks gets close to the 1st down marker. It'll depend on the mark. I think he got it.
You know, Leslie mentioned keeping the balls dry. Joe Paterno was hoping for bad weather here today. It's a great neutralizer. On the other side, Lou Holtz was dreading a bad day. He was afraid of the mud and how it would affect his offense and the turnovers. But you know what? It rained all morning, but it stopped just about game time. And the field is in pretty good shape because they had it covered most of the night. All night long. And just an hour before game time, they took the tarp off.
Actually stopped just before they took the tarp. First down at 10, ball on the 38. Big hole for Culver. Culver spins to the 49-yard line, and that was the last line of defense for Penn State. Darren Perry, had he not tripped him up, Culver would have been gone. Gain of 11.
You know, it's interesting when you look at a guy like Rodney Culver. He's a freshman from Detroit. So last year at this time, Culver was playing high school football. Now here he is on a team that has a shot at the national championship running the ball.
First downs now for the Irish. Rice with a long count. And a deep drop. And he runs to the 43-yard line, and there's a flag, and I believe it'll be against Notre Dame. Andre Collins makes the tackle. Rice has been sacked only 6 times this year, and that's a pretty good indication why. Great feet, spectacular awareness of the field.
Just an exceptional athlete. On the offense.
And it is a clip against Notre Dame.
But you see Penn State's philosophy. They're not rushing anybody. That time they rushed 3 men. Rice had all the time in the world to look downfield, couldn't find a receiver, finally scrambled and made decent yardage before the penalty.
6 minutes, 10 seconds remain in the first half at Notre Dame Stadium. Tim Grant, John Dockery with you, where the Irish lead Penn State by 2 touchdowns. That's the 3rd penalty of the afternoon against Notre Dame.
On the offense, still first down.
So that clipping penalty makes it 1st and 17.
You know, Lou Holtz is one of Tony Rice's biggest defenders. A lot of people have criticized Rice for not being a good thrower, and in fact he isn't. He's got some mechanical problems, but he's improved. And what Lou Holtz will simply say to you when you bring that up is that, hey, check his record. He's 13-2 as a starter.
The ball is officially marked at the 42 for Rice. Again, he takes that deep drop and throws over top to Culver on the screen, and Culver's out into Penn State territory. Don't forget, coming up next, the Oklahoma Sooners roll into their traditional Big 8 showdown, led by Charles Thompson and Jamel Holloway. They'll be playing against the Cornhuskers of Nebraska, led by Steve Taylor. The Big 8 title and the Orange Bowl on the line. That's all coming up next, right here on CBS Sports.
You know, it's interesting, Tim. Everyone's been talking about Rodney Peete and Troy Aikman, but quietly, Steve Taylor has had a fabulous year. I mean, he's rushed for 12 touchdowns. He's thrown for 11.
2nd down and 7 Irish on the option. Rice takes it around the corner to the 40-yard line, and Rice continues to cause problems for the Penn State defense.
And Rice is a catalyst for this offense. So goes Tony Rice, so goes the Notre Dame offense.
Notre Dame scrimmaged every other day in spring practice. No band, no TV, no crowd, and the Irish gained a great deal of character. Lou Holtz thinks that's when this team, this young team with a lot of questions, that's when they turn the corner.
And Lou Holtz is a guy that demands respect and asks his team week in and week out to accept the challenge. Rely on one another and accept the challenge. They have all season long.
This is Green on 1st down to the 34-yard line. Scott Gobb makes the tackle. Gobb had 8 tackles last week against Pitt. He's got 59 for the year now.
And you talk to a guy like Scott Gobb, and he'll tell you what Penn State football has meant to him. How he's grown in poise. He used to be a hothead, but the discipline of playing big-time college football at a good school like Penn State has calmed him down. He's got more control of himself and his life.
Green now has 8 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown. It's 2nd down and 6 at the 35. Straight ahead, not much there, goes Rodney Culver.
And it's fairly obvious as you watch this game that that Notre Dame simply believes they are a better team, more talent, and they can grind it out against a very average overall Penn State team. Although we mentioned the defense for Penn State has played reasonably well all year long, they're not a dominating big play defense. And you look at those rushing stats, already 161 for the Irish.
Brooks and Banks are the setbacks. It's 3rd down and 4. They push the ball close to that 1st down, and Banks has it. They'll mark it at the 26-yard line. Andre Collins made the tackle there. Minutes, 15 seconds remain in the half. 1st down, Irish. This is Brooks. He draws a crowd at the 23. Chris Caesar is there first. Freshman out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Tim Brandt and John Dockery with you at Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend, Indiana. Boy, you just walk in this place and you can feel the spirits. 14-0 Notre Dame. 2 minutes, 45 seconds remain in the 1st half. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Straight ahead goes Banks, gets a couple. Down to the 18. Bob Roscoe made the tackle for Penn State.
You know, so many great players here. You mentioned the traditions, the Lou Jacks, the Bertellis, the Paul Hornings, the Montanas, the Theismann. You talked to Tony Rice about the pressure there, and he said, you know what? It's just a compliment to be mentioned in the same breath with those guys. And if I can ever live up to their kind of tradition, I'll be quite happy.
This is a problem that Penn State had with Pitt last week. Pitt held the ball almost 35 minutes last week, season high against this defense. 2 tight ends, right side they go. And Green carries it down to the 17-yard line.
You hear the fans in the background exhorting, urging Lou Holtz to go for the 1st down, but no. He's sending in the diminutive one, Reggie Ho, all 5'5", 135 pounds.
Reggie Ho, 9 of 11 on field goals this year, as long as 38. This one will be 35 yards. Pete Graham is the holder. I don't know. It's not going to get there. No good. So the Penn State defense holds. And with 1 minute and 12 seconds now remaining in the half, it's 14-0 Notre Dame. Roderick Thomas of Nebraska. And then comes Keith DeLone.
Keith DeLone, the fine linebacker from Tennessee, and Michigan's Perry Snow.
But right in the middle, Steve Stonebreaker, who comes from pretty good stock. His dad, Steve, drafted by Minnesota in 1961, 12th round as a tight end, but switched to linebacker. In 1964, he was traded to the Colts and eventually played for the New Orleans Saints in the expansion draft, and he played through 1968. Steve Stonebreaker. And his son, Mike. Mike now, of course, the junior Eagle linebacker for Notre Dame. 1st down and 10 for Penn State with 1:12 remaining in the half. Brown breaks a tackle and carries it out to the 24-yard line. Hey, don't forget, tomorrow here on CBS Sports, our NFL coverage continues beginning at 12:30 Eastern Time. The Chicago Bears against Tampa Bay. Those two teams met just a couple of weeks ago, and Mike Ditka will be back on the sidelines for the Bears. Also, Phoenix against Houston. Houston, a very physical team. Phoenix strong. And Detroit against Green Bay. Here, 2nd and 7 at the 23. Ball's loose. Notre Dame's got it, I do believe. They do. Gary Brown lost the handle. Pritchett made the recovery.
Just gang tackling by the Notre Dame defense. Take a look at it right here. That's Gary Brown. Everybody's ripping at the ball. It comes loose. and Alm comes up with it. He actually ripped it loose. Yeah, he actually ripped it loose.
Pritchett got it back. It's first down. Notre Dame at the 24. Play action. Throws it up top, incomplete. There is a flag. It was intended for Ishmael. Sherrod Range was out there on the defensive coverage, and there's a flag in that area.
We have pass interference on the offense.
Oh, interesting. They called the Rocket Ishmael for pushing off Sherrod Range. That was just kind of a stop and go. Range had good position. Ishmael pushed off, thus the penalty.
Ishmael, 9 catches. He runs a 4.28. He was recruited by virtually everybody.
For pass interference on the offense, it's a loss of down. So we'll be second down. Second down.
You know, it's interesting as you look at Ishmael. Today is his birthday. He's 19 years old today, the freshman.
Second down and 25. The ball on the 39 for the Irish. Again, there's play action, but Rice this time under pressure slips. Now drills it across the middle, and it's picked off. Sherrod Range, his second interception of the afternoon. Range gets it back to the 32, so with 22 seconds now remaining in the half, Penn State will get it back. 23-yard return.
A poor decision by Tony Rice. You'll notice when you see the replay that Tony Rice goes to set up. He slips, so he loses sight of what's going on downfield. Right there, he slips, regains his balance. The ball has actually touched the ground, and then just throws down the middle of the field late. Poor throw. Sherrod Range with the interception for Penn State.
Coming up at halftime here on CBS, the Prudential College Football Report. We'll have all the scores and highlights with you. Eric Parsegan and Jim Nance, and they'll also have an interesting look at the Heisman Trophy this year. Leroy Thompson and Sam Gash now come in for Penn State on first down at the 32. This is Thompson with a big hole right side, and he pushes the pile up close to a first down.
I am bewildered. Why not throw it up, try to get something? You're down 14-0. Time's running out in a half. Come on, Joe Paterno. You said you were going to take out all the stops. Find Michael Timpson on the outside and air it out. One of his problems, though, is that Lonergan really doesn't have that long arm, and Saka's on the sidelines and not warmed up.
Chris Zorich comes out of the ball game for Notre Dame, the big nose tackle. He's a little bit shaken up. Brian Flannery, I believe, comes in. This is the situation with the bowl matchups. As it stands right now, Michigan will play the winner of the USC-UCLA game, which will be later this afternoon. Sugar Bowl, Auburn or LSU against USC or Florida State. Nebraska and Oklahoma, they're playing for the right to go to the Orange Bowl. You can see that here on CBS this afternoon. And the Cotton Bowl with unbeaten Arkansas playing Florida State or UCLA.
Fiesta Bowl, it'll be Notre Dame versus West Virginia. The Gator Bowl, Georgia and either Michigan State or Colorado. The Sun Bowl, Alabama versus Army. The Citrus, Clemson, and the loser of that Nebraska-Oklahoma game out in Norman.
That Notre Dame West Virginia game should be something.
West Virginia has a tough game today against Syracuse.
First down and 10. Ball on the 42. 13 seconds remain in the half, and this one's batted down by Jeff Alm.
He was looking for Michael Timpson streaking down the right sideline. Lance Lonergan, that's the third ball he has had knocked down. He's only 5'11", so when those defensive linemen get their hands up, he has a problem. Whereas the backup quarterback at this moment, the freshman, Tony Saka, 6'5", with the big arm. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Saka in the second half.
I can't get over Alm. High school high jumper, high hurdles, 6'7", wingspan is huge. He's got 3 interceptions. 10 seconds now remain for Penn State. Lonergan backside pressure. And this pass is incomplete, and I think Gary Brown should have had it.
Gary Brown was distracted by the linebacker out there covering. Didn't concentrate, couldn't hold on.
No question about it. He was distracted. He's got to make those catches.
Well, that's been the story of the Penn State year. You see Joe Paterno saying, hey, look at me, concentrate, watch the ball into your hands. Don't worry about the defensive player. Easy to say, a little bit more difficult to do.
Third down and 10, the ball at the 42. 5 seconds now remaining in the half. Leroy Thompson and Sam Gash are the I-backs. And this is Thompson. Ball's loose. Thompson gets it back. There is a flag. It'll be a face mask, I do believe. There isn't any time remaining on the clock, but there is a flag. A couple of them, as a matter of fact. Looked like Ali maybe have gotten a face mask.
We have a 15-yard face mask penalty against the defense. It will extend the half by 1 play.
So Ali did get the face mask. And that'll be just the delay Penn State needs for another play.
Right. And a half or a game can't end on a defensive penalty. So Penn State will have one more shot, and they actually have a chance to throw the ball downfield into the end zone.
There's a look at Tony Saka. He's 6'5", 202-pound freshman. He started 5 games this year for Penn State.
And he has the big arm. He can throw downtown. It's really a free play. Timpson is coming to the near side of the field. He's the man with world-class speed. Of course, Notre Dame's defense is back 15 or 20 yards in their prevent.
And Penn State wants a timeout. Let me tell you about Tony Saka as you look at Joe Paterno. Saka, 6'5", 202-pound freshman. He's out of New Jersey. He's got a shotgun arm. He was recruited not only by Penn State, but by Lou Holtz. So Tony Saka's been in Lou's house. Lou's been to Tony's house. They know each other very well. He considered coming to Notre Dame. Now here he is playing against the Irish, and he's the quarterback of the future.
And he was forced to be the only true freshman to start for quarterback Joe Paterno. Actually, it would have been Tom Bill, who was playing well before he was injured. But you mentioned him being so highly recruited. Everybody smiles when you mention Tony Saka's name. Everybody in the country wanted him.
Eric Etzie, number 99, comes on for Penn State. Now, I want to get a shot of this. Here he is, because he's the guy on to attempt a long field goal. So Joe Paterno has changed his mind. Saka has come out of the ball game, and Etzie comes in.
Joe Paterno changed his mind last week. He does it again today. Chance to second guess yourself. Obviously, Joe would like to get something on the board to give him a little bit of oomph going into the locker room.
It'll be a 52-yard attempt. It's Etzie's first field goal attempt of the year. And he blasts it. And it's good from 52 yards. We had to go deep in the roster to find him, number 99. But Eric Etzie blasted through from 52 yards, and that ignites the Nittany Lions of Penn State as the half comes to an end.
What a boot. Watch him pound this ball right there. 52 yards. Joe Paterno must have had the instinctive feeling, let me get something on the board. We're being shut out. The ball had plenty, goes through. Yes. Number 99.
That'll give him something to talk about in the locker room. Look at Joe Paterno.
All right, we have something going to the locker room.
So that's the end of the half, with Notre Dame leading the Nittany Lions of Penn State 14-3. Let's go to New York. Here's Jim Nance. Jim?
All right. Well, thank you, Tim Brandt. Mike Gillette of Michigan just kicked the 56-yarder before the half. We'll tell you all the scores and early action here on this Saturday action of college football. Plus, we'll take a look at the...
Next, CBS Sports presents...
Recognizable landmarks on any college campus in America. The Golden Dome atop the University of Notre Dame's main building. The dome and statue were regilded last summer for the 10th time with 23-karat gold leaf foil. And the statue alone weighs 4,000 pounds, stands way up tall, so every student on this campus can see the Golden Dome. Hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt along with John Dockery, and it was a first half dominated by Notre Dame, and yet Penn State hangs in there and still very much alive.
It's only 14-3, but when you look at it, Notre Dame had the ball twice as much as Penn State did, and you take a look at the first touchdown here. Tony Rice, an excellent play. He puts pressure on the defense. He can either run or he can throw. He has a man, his tight end open in the end zone. He fakes and then just takes it in himself to give Notre Dame a 7-0 lead. Second touchdown, Mark Green, an excellent run. But if you watch this and you're a young receiver, you can learn something from Rocket Ismail. He's the receiver. He'll come into your screen, number 25. He's blocking number 36 right here. Watch him block. See? That distracts the defensive back, Sherrod Range, and allows Mark Green to make a move, fakes inside, goes outside, tiptoes down the sidelines to make it 14-0. Score now 14-3. Notre Dame ahead of Penn State.
And we'll be right back after this message and a word from your local stations. Notre Dame held the ball for more than 20 minutes of the first half. They lead at 14-3 here at Notre Dame Stadium. And it's been pretty much all Irish thus far.
It has been all Irish. You look at the total yards, more than double. Notre Dame has more than double Penn State's output. They just dominated all the way through. You see the time of possession, and it's been everywhere. First down, same thing. Lou Holtz's team has just dominated Joe Paterno.
Now Eric Eads hit a 52-yard field goal at the end of the first half for Penn State. Eads is a senior from Winter Springs, Florida. This was his first field goal of the year, and he'll be kicking off now for the Nittany Lions. Eads was the kicker last year for all but 2 of the regular season games, but he hasn't kicked this year, and he just pops this one up. It'll be short. Taken by the up man at the 27-yard line, and he'll push the pile forward across to the 37. Leslie Visser had a chance to talk with Joe Paterno moments ago.
Coach, you got on the board at the end of the first half, but how costly was the penalty in 4th and 1 in the first quarter?
Well, it was awfully important, especially when you've got a quarterback sneaking, your tailback goes in motion. But then you pay for inexperience. That kid's a good football player. He's a very emotional kid, and he's anxious to do well. So it hurt us, obviously hurt us.
You're down by 11. What kind of adjustments can you make?
Well, I think we're playing pretty good football again. We got to play a little better defense. We got to tackle a little better on defense instead of making some of those kids are making 5 and 6 yards when maybe they ought to make 2 and 3. We can stop them this drive and get some things going. It'll be a good ball game.
Thank you, Coach.
Joe Paterno, always the gentleman, and he put this drive in perspective. It is critical that the Penn State defense stop Notre Dame right away. Green's knee hit at the 40-yard line. Caesar made the tackle. It'll be 2nd down and 7. The ball at the 40-yard line. Long count for Rice. The pitch back to Tony Brooks, and Brooks is stopped at the 46-yard line.
I think Paterno made a pretty good point there. They're not tackling that well, though Penn State has played reasonably well. First half, 179 yards rushing for Notre Dame, and you know, Notre Dame's just doing it up front. You see their big lineman, that's number 66, Andy Heck, the converted tight end. Look how he stays on his block all the way downfield.
Green comes back into the ball game. He has 55 yards for the game. He needs 60 now to move ahead of one of the 4 horsemen to 9th place on the all-time rushing list at Notre Dame. This straight ahead to the big guy Banks, and Banks barrels down inside the 30 to the 26-yard line. Braxton Banks finally stopped by Darren Perry, a gain of 29.
And Braxton Banks was one of those bright players coming into this season, but he hurt his knee against Michigan. He missed a few games. He's now getting back into stride. And you see him squeeze through the hole. Runs well for a guy who's 6'3", 215 pounds. And he punishes the defensive backs at the end of a play. Look at that drive and strength.
Big, strong legs, low center of gravity. It's 1st down at the 25, Notre Dame. This is Green, right side, gets a couple to the 23-yard line. Good tackle made by Sherrod Range.
And you see number 66, Andy Heck, pulled on that play. And it's interesting you talk to Heck. Seldom do you find an honest receiver, but Heck was a tight end last year. He said, you know, it was always a chore trying to get open at tight end. That's why I'm happy to move to tackle. It's just much easier to play and much better for me. And he's done one heck of a job for Lou Holtz and the Irish. Andy Heck, the left tackle.
Went from 245 to 275 pounds. Here's the pitch back to Brooks. Brooks taken out of bounds at the 19.
You talk about Heck putting on all that weight. He talked about setting his alarm in the middle of the night to get up to eat that 5th and 6th meal so he could put on those 25, 30 pounds to play tackle.
Actually, he says by moving down the left tackle from tight end that his role is simplified and he's more relaxed. One of the captains of this Notre Dame team, Andy Heck. It'll be 3rd down and 4, the ball on the 20. I formation, 2 receivers to the bottom of the screen. Ishmael and Eilers. Here comes the option. And the pitch back to Green. Inside the 15, ball's loose. Penn State got it. Brian Chismar made the recovery. He missed the last 2 games with a knee injury. He's back now and makes the recovery on this play.
And he is probably Penn State's best defensive player, number 28, Brian Chismar. He's put in a bind here as Rice comes out. Chismar has to either decide to go for the pitch. Rice fakes him. See Chismar right there, waiting. Finally, he goes for Rice inside. Pitch man, Green coughs it up. Chismar hustling, finds what he wants. The rock is on the ground and gets it back to Penn State.
Chismar had an interception and a fumble recovery against the Irish last year. 1st down and 10, the ball on the 14. So Penn State does get it back with 11:51 remaining in the 3rd period. The give to Brown, and Brown gets up to the 18. Michael Stonebreaker lassoed him, took him down, almost clotheslined him.
You know, you talked to Lou Holtz about his favorite linebacker, number 42, Mike Stonebreaker, and he just say he's a guy that has that business-like all-American approach. He's there every play. He's not that emotional. He just does the job day in and day out.
Trying to get a number at 71, Tim Freeman, the injured Nittany Lion.
Tim Freeman, the player taken up for Penn State.
Stonebreaker, we told you, as you look at Freeman, one of the 5 Butkus finalists. The winner will be announced November 29th.
He's in there with some pretty good company when you look at Derek Thomas from Alabama, Broderick Thomas from Nebraska, DeLong and Snow. It's good company for Michael Stonebreaker.
We'll be back.
Some guys look at this.
Today's CFA game is sponsored by Michelob. One taste will tell you why the night belongs to Michelob. Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. And by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet.
Tim Freeman was just carried off the field by 2 of his teammates, Sean Love and Matt McCartan. He's out of the game now, and Jeff Brubaker comes in at left tackle for the Nittany Lions. It's 2nd down and 5 at the 18. Not much doing there on that side. Right now, let's go downstairs. Here's Leslie Visser.
Tim, at the end of the 1st half, Lou Holtz complained to the referees that the Penn State players were shouting at the Notre Dame linemen, trying to throw off the count. As you know, taunting is now a penalty in college football. The referees said they would try to be aware of it. Tim?
All right, Leslie. Good little insight there.
Absolutely. Lou looking for the edge whenever he can. He's at home. He's 9-0. He's got USC next week. Whew.
This is 3rd down and 5. Lonergan right side. Nice cut inside. Gets the 1st down across the 30. They'll mark it at the 33. But Lance Lonergan made a big move. 14-yard gain. 1st down, Penn State.
Lance Lonergan is not noted for his running ability. A senior from Westport, Connecticut. He's got a year left. He's got a decision to make after this year. Lance Lonergan does. He can come back. He's done a year. He graduates in May. He'll have to decide whether he wants to stay on, go to graduate school, and compete for the job with guys like Tony Sacca, Tom Bill.
1st down at the 33. This is Leroy Thompson. He gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all. Good pursuit on the left side by the defensive front of Notre Dame.
Tim, you asked me at the half, what does Penn State have to do to come back? This game is not out of reach. It's 14-3. What Penn State has to do is what they did to start the game. They have to open up their offense. They have to come up with some different kinds of plays to loosen up the Notre Dame defense. They have to stop self-destructing.
It'll be 2nd down and 9. The ball on the 34. 9 minutes, 53 seconds remain 3rd quarter. It's 14-3 Notre Dame. Leroy Thompson looks for a hole on the right side. Gets a couple of yards. Right now, the Notre Dame defense is being stingy.
Ah, a young Nittany Lion. Look at the lion on that coat. What a sweetheart.
I'll tell you what, though, her dad's wearing blue and green. I bet that's a Notre Dame person.
Maybe there's good loyalties in the
it's
Penn State all the way.
Penn State folks just know how to dress nice and warm. 3rd down and 6, the ball on the 37. Penn State opens up its offense now. 3 receivers to the left side for Lonergan, who throws in the direction of Thompson, but Lonergan almost bounced it out there.
Lonergan, didn't set himself, did not get ready. He's now missed 8 in a row, and you sense that he's out of his rhythm. Joe Paterno is going to have a few things to say to him over there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Joe looked around and said, hey, where's my 6'5" quarterback with a strong arm? Where are you, Tony Sacco? Get ready.
Well, he's talking to Lance Lonergan right now, and he's trying to get things straightened out as Doug Hilkowski comes on now to punt for the Nittany Lions, and Ricky Waters will be deep for the Irish. 3 times Notre Dame has been inside Penn State 20 and not scored. Interception, a fumble, and a missed field goal.
It's interesting, Notre Dame players are coming up expecting some kind of a fake.
No, they've got the return on. Kowski gets a high wobbler. Waters will take it on the 26-yard line, and now there's a flag.
Oh, my.
A 36-yard punt. He called for the fair catch, and I don't think Penn State gave him the legal room to make the catch.
Troy Davis, a linebacker, was there, and that's going to be the call. I thought it didn't affect the play at all. He made the catch.
We have interference with the opportunity to catch the ball. The defender was within 2 yards of the receiver. It's a 5-yard penalty. 5 yards.
The letter of the law, but the spirit of the law, I question.
I don't know. Maybe Lou's talk did some good.
That's right.
Got their attention. Eight minutes, 57 seconds remain in the 3rd period. 14-3, Irish. 14-3, Irish. 8:57 remaining 3rd quarter. First down at the 32 for Notre Dame. Waters and Ishmael at the bottom of the screen. Rice play action, and he looks in that direction. He's going deep in the direction of Ishmael. Inside the 20, touchdown Notre Dame. 68-yard touchdown. They call him Rocket. He runs a 4.2840. Somehow Eddie Johnson, the safety, got lost.
Eddie Johnson was actually in a bind, Tim. He had another receiver going deep down the other side of the field. He had the Rocket going down the near sideline. He had to make a choice. The problem is when you're trying to cover a guy like Ishmael with 4.2 speed, you can't hesitate at all. Eddie Johnson hesitated.
Reggie Ho for the extra point. And it's good.
Take a look at this. A good throw by Tony Rice. Airs it out. May not be mechanically perfect, but this ball is well thrown. Eddie Johnson nowhere near the Rocket. He actually had to slow down a little bit, and that's a test to how open he was for the touchdown.
Johnson missed the tackle. Ishmael with his 10th catch of the year. His 2nd touchdown. It's 21-3. 8 minutes, 47 seconds remain in the 3rd period here at Notre Dame Stadium. 21-3 Irish. And look at the scoring drive. That's quick.
The Irish can do it in all ways. One play, 68 yards, 10 seconds. The Rocket would be a little disappointed running on 68 yards in 10 seconds, but when you consider he's about a 9.300 man.
Says he runs the 4.2840. See why they call him Rocket. Low squib kick taken by the up man for Penn State. Gets it back to the 36-yard line. Let's find out what's happening in the Clemson, South Carolina game. Here's Jim Nance.
Well, Tim, all kinds of state pride on the line in this one. After 3 Clemson field goals, Terry Allen gets the game's first touchdown, and it's 16-0 Clemson, 2nd quarter. Back to Tim and John.
Boy, Clemson is explosive. I can tell you that. They beat up on my alma mater, Maryland, to win the Atlantic Coast Conference title last week.
And they're going to have a tough one no matter who they play in that Florida Citrus Bowl. They're going to play the loser from Nebraska, Oklahoma later on here on CBS.
Leroy Thompson Thompson on a little reverse action for Penn State. Hops his way across the 40. Stopped at the 42-yard line.
It was funny when we talked to Joe Paterno last night. We talked to him about opening up his offense a little razzle-dazzle. He says, yeah, we're going to have a little razzle-dazzle if you call a reverse razzle-dazzle.
Lance Lonergan is still the quarterback for Penn State, although he has struggled. 2nd down and 4, ball on the 42 for the Nittany Lions. Straight ahead, Thompson. He's close to a 1st down. Good running by Leroy Thompson. Wes Pritchett makes the tackle. The standings in the Big 8. Nebraska undefeated, Oklahoma undefeated. Those two teams match up here next on CBS Sports. The 7th and 8th ranked teams in the nation. The winner of that game goes to the Orange Bowl and wins the Big 8 title. And Doc, it seems like every year the Big 8 title comes down to these two clubs.
Oh, two of the best. And I talked to Pat Hayden earlier out in Norman, and he said that Barry Switzer is his usual loose self, and why shouldn't he be? He's won 4 straight. He thinks this year, though, the teams are more evenly matched. The talent better distributed.
I'll tell you what, though, the talent's fairly well distributed almost every year in that matchup. Tom Osborne does a tremendous job with the Cornhuskers, but he has had his problems against the Sooners. That's coming up next on CBS Sports. Cold out there, too.
Yeah, they talked about the weather conditions, rain, cold, windy. Talked about the possibility of snow, so tough weather conditions in Norman.
Brent and Pat will love that.
Yeah, that's right. They're all bundled up.
It'll be 3rd down and less than 1 for Penn State. Ball just beyond the 46. Thompson and Sam Gash come into the ball game. Gash is the short yardage guy. He's also the designated touchdown maker for the Nittany Lions. 7 this year. 2 tight ends, power formation. Quarterback sneak, Lonergan. And I think he got it.
And you have to wonder what it would be like when Penn State got the ball to begin this game. They drove down to about the 20-yard line and come up with a quarterback sneak. They get the 1st down, but as Joe Paterno said after the half, tailback in motion, penalty, they're forced to kick. They come away with nothing.
Well, the Notre Dame players were saying they didn't get it. They were saying they held him. But while the chains were moving, it was too late. But they do have a right for a measurement. Didn't call for one. It'll be 1st down at the 47. Lonergan, with time, goes deep in the direction of Terry Smith. Incomplete. Broken up nicely by Stan Smagala.
Stan Magala is the man they call the short corner. He's more physical, not a great cover man, but here he has good position inside on Terry Smith. Smith actually comes over the top and gets his hands on the ball. Great play right there, almost by number 15, Pat Terrell. Almost came up with the interception. Great try.
2nd down and 10. The ball at the 47 now for the Nittany Lions. Leroy Thompson on the delay straight ahead. He maybe lost a yard. He did. What a play by Wes Pritchett, the middle linebacker. He's the guy that calls the defensive signals. 6'6", 251-pound senior out of Atlanta, Georgia. The leading tackler on this Irish defense. And bench presses over 400 pounds.
Well, look at the size of him at 6'6", 251. You talk about a beast at linebacker. He really sets the tone. Physical, and lets the people know that Penn State is going to come out and hit you.
It'll be 3rd down and 11 at the 46. Lonergan double pumps. Now's in trouble and throws this one away. Notre Dame wants a flag. They say intentional grounding. You won't get one. And the Nittany Lions will have to punt it away.
Lonergan having a miserable afternoon. He started off okay. He's missed now. He's 3 of 14. He's missed his last 10 throws.
Doug Hilkowski comes on to punt. Ricky Waters is deep for the Irish. 6 minutes, 30 seconds remain, 3rd period. It's a high, wobbly punt. Waters will fair catch it at the 12. And so the Irish which have really dominated here, held possession of the ball for most of the game, now gets it back after a 42-yard punt. It's still 21-3. It's the last home game of the year for the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, and they're enjoying themselves here at Notre Dame Stadium. 21-3 Irish with 6:22 remaining, third period. Rice, quick flanker screen. Waters makes a nifty move, catches the block, and he's out to the 21-yard line. Oh, what a move by Ricky Waters. Let's go back to New York. Here's Jim Nantz with an update. Jim?
Well, Tim, after that Clemson touchdown, it took South Carolina just 4 plays to strike back. Todd Ellis to a freshman, Robert Brooks. 16-7 Clemson at the half. Back to Tim.
All right, Jim, that's the 4th catch of the afternoon for Waters here for Notre Dame. He's got 71 yards in receptions. Notre Dame player Scott Gobb was shaken up, and he's helped off the field. Give you an update on Tim Freeman, the left tackle for Penn State, was taken out of the game earlier, carried to the sidelines. They're x-raying his leg, and as soon as we hear something, we'll pass it along to you. 2nd down and 1 Irish. The up man is Banks, and he's got the first down for Notre Dame. At the conclusion of the game, we'll have the Chevrolet player of the game for you, picked by the announcers. Right now, that could be anybody for Notre Dame. They've all seemed to play well. Chevrolet player of the game. We'll have that for you as the game winds down. Right now, 5:45 remaining in the third period. 21-3 Irish. This is Green on first down. Nice play by the left side contained man. Green now goes over 60 yards, so he moves to 9th on the all-time career rush list at Notre Dame, passing Don Miller, one of the 4 horsemen. Mark Green, boy, what a thrill that must be for that young man.
And you talk to Mark Green, and he talks about the tough 5 and 6 years under Jerry Faust and how different it is now. The attitude on the team, where they come into every game now, they expect to win. And that's the kind of attitude a national champion has to have. It wasn't always that way.
Rice on 2nd and 8 throws to Ishmael, and it's completed the 37-yard line. Let's go downstairs to Leslie Visser. Leslie?
Hi, Tim. I'm down here with Mrs. Ishmael. Fatma Ishmael, your son's having a terrific game, but he's not your only son, is he?
No, I have 3 other sons. I have Rocket, the rocket. I have Kadri, the missile. I have Suleiman, the bomb. And they call me the launch pad. We're very excited, though, for Rocket here. Yeah.
Tell us how.
Touchdown.
Well, that's great. Tell us how you introduced them to the game.
Well, when we started out, we used to walk to the West Orange field, okay? And it was like 20 miles from our house. We used to walk to and from, and I would carry one, and we'd stop and take a break, and then we'd continue to walk on.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you, Mrs. Ishmael. Back to you, Tim.
All right, Leslie, thank you.
The launching pad. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
The rocket.
Hey, does she seem happy to you?
Oh, well, should be. The Rockets having some afternoon. Big touchdown grab.
The proud mom. That's great. Brooks and Culver now, the setbacks for Notre Dame. It's 2nd down and 6 on the 40. This is Culver to the 48-yard line. And Notre Dame continues to move at will against this Penn State defense. Tim Brandt and John Dockery with you at Notre Dame Stadium, South Bend, Indiana. Another capacity crowd, 81 consecutive sellouts in this stadium. And they're enjoying themselves.
Lou Holtz in his 3rd year has turned it totally around for Notre Dame. 6-5 2 years ago, 8-4. At this moment, 9-0, thinking national championship.
First time in Holt's career has been 9-0, ranked number 1. This time the Irish lose a yard. Good play by Shizmar, the hero back on Mark Green.
And you know, Jim, you and I have talked about the reasons for the great turnaround at Notre Dame under Lou Holtz, and one of the big reasons is he was recruited speed. Remember, Bear Bryant always used to say, hey, luck follows speed. And he's a very organized guy and a master motivator. He really has the attention and the respect of his players. They want to play for him. They respect his intelligence, his organization, and as evidenced by the fact that he's had a great year here. And, you know, it's only the beginning of Manning. He's deep. He's a great recruiter.
2nd down and 11 for the Irish. Rice, good pump fake. Now has this one batted up incomplete. I can remember vividly 1972 when Lou Holtz made his debut at NC State.
You were there, right across the field.
I walked out for the flip of the coin as the captain of the Maryland team looked over, and I saw this short, skinny guy with glasses and long blonde hair flopping over. I said, we've got these guys. They came out and jumped on us 17-0. We had to fight for our lives and come back and tie it 24-24.
Lou Holtz has a habit of doing that. I mean, he's won everywhere he's been, really. I mean, look at his record at Arkansas, 2 years at Minnesota, before that at NC State, William and Mary. I mean, just a dynamic coach, but now this is his dream. He's where he wants to be.
3rd down and 11 now for Rice. And he's going deep again to his big tight end, incomplete. It was intended for Derek Brown. One of the nation's top recruits, Brown, just a freshman, had a throat infection last week, John, returning from home, was sent to the hospital. We were out at practice Thursday and Friday, and Lou Holtz sent him in early.
Sent him in, and Lou was quipping that he was glad Derek Brown was okay, back from the throat infection, a problem which afflicted George Gipp, similar one, joked that his recovery robbed him of a great halftime speech.
4th down and 10 to 49, and there are flags everywhere. One of the great motivational speeches of all time.
Derek Brown, though, you talk about a force, started the last 5 games, had that throat infection, hasn't practiced all week long. Well, you mention his name to Jimmy Johnson, he says, oh, how did I let him get out of Florida?
We have a dead ball foul in the center. We have a false start.
So they'll back the Irish up. The punting team will stay on. And Penn State needs a big play. A look at Jim Sexton, the punter for the Irish. He has an average of 38 yards, as long as 53. And the deep man, number 8, Terry Smith.
And a very strong connection here at Notre Dame, because Jim Sexton's father, Bill, is the vice president of university relations here at Notre Dame. So do you think Jim had any option to go anywhere else?
You find a lot of those connections here in South Bend.
It's like Terry Hanratty with his daughter Kelly. And Jim Seymour has a son who's a freshman here.
How about our young host up here in the booth with us? One of 12 children, 10 of them went to Notre Dame.
Oh my God, I'd like to see the tuition bill for that family.
She's the 10th.
It's that kind of tradition. I mean, that's what Lou Holtz uses around the country, the mystique of Notre Dame. You growing up as an athlete in this country, you at least have to consider this if you're a talented football player. Not only a great football tradition, but also a fine education.
So Sean Connor now comes on to punt for Notre Dame. They switch punters on 4th and 17. Return man is still Terry Smith. I don't understand the holdup or the changes here, Doc.
No idea why they took Sexton out. Now Sean Connor is coming to the sidelines. Musical punters.
We have a penalty. Failure to wear required equipment on the offense. 5-yard penalty.
Failure to wear required equipment on the offense. What piece of required equipment? We'll try to find out.
Could be almost anything. There's the knee pad. They need them. You know, they can send you out for not wearing a mouthpiece.
And they can send you off for not wearing a knee pad.
And that's what happened.
It's a good idea. I mean, athletes, as you play the game, you tend to try to lighten up on all the pads that you wear so you'll be quicker and faster. But that also raises the element of danger.
Let me correct the penalty. Let me correct it. It's failure to wear required equipment on the offense. It becomes a charged timeout. A charged timeout on Notre Dame. Charged timeout.
All right, so Jim Sexton now comes back on to punt for the Irish. Of course, that's not for lighter equipment or speed in this case, but more mobility. He doesn't like to have that encumbrance on his knees. He likes to get that leg bend.
I think if you ask most punters, they tell you they don't want to wear the thigh guard. You see it sticking out of Sexton's pants right there. He's also wearing the knee guard. You can see the little bulge over his knee, but yes, more flexibility, more velocity in the swing of your leg if you don't have that little extra weight, but you become more susceptible to injury. It's a good rule.
Tell you what, Notre Dame's made some mistakes today. 7 penalties for 68 yards now. 2 minutes, 43 seconds remain in the third period. 4th and 17 as Sexton will punt this one away, and it is a end-over-end kick that'll hit at the 33. Get a Notre Dame bounce, and it'll die on the 24. 34-yard punt, no return. Coming up tomorrow, it all starts with the NFL Today, with Brent Irvin, Dick Butkus at 12:30 Eastern Time. Chicago against Tampa Bay, 2 teams that met just 2 weeks ago in the snow at Soldier Field. And then Phoenix, Houston, for viewers in that area, and Detroit against Green Bay. Some of the games that you'll see. The late game, Philadelphia against the New York Giants. The Giants coming off that loss to the Cardinals just last week, or some of you will see Atlanta against the LA Raiders.
You look at the Giants, boy, they're tied with Phoenix for first place, and Phoenix, of course, in Houston. Very important game for the Giants.
Here, first down at the 24. Penn State offense still remains very conservative as Sam Gash gets a yard.
You know, talking about the Giants, you look at Philadelphia, and they've pulled a couple out in the last 2 weeks, and boy, they have a tough job against Reggie White, sack leader last year in the NFL, and Randall Cunningham, what a year he's having.
Second down and 9, the ball at the 26-yard line. Lonergan with play action, and has this one knocked down by Jeff Alm. Jeff Alm, the Notre Dame defensive end, has caused problems for Lonergan all day.
Well, he's
one interception, 2 knockdowns, Doc. Really messed his timing up.
You know, they have that big defensive line, 6'7", 250, Jeff Alm. Now, when he puts his hand up, he has to look at him jump right there. That's actually Frank Stamms, who got the 3rd knockdown. And one of the problems is Lonergan's not a real big quarterback. He's only 5'11".
3rd down and 9 at the 26. Drills this one underneath to Daniels, and he drops it. Boy, that pass was right there, and Daniels didn't hold on.
And one of the things that Lonergan did, wise choice, he rolled out of the pocket to get away from that rush, so he had more room to see his receiver and throw through the lanes. That time, perfect pass to Daniels. Hey, just dropped it. Been the story of the Penn State season. Mistakes, miscues, penalties, misplays.
Doug Hokowski on to punt for Penn State. And Ricky Waters will be the return man. Waters will take this one at the 35. And he's hit almost immediately and loses a couple of yards on the return. 40-yard punt, 21-3. We'll be back. Well, they make it look easy, don't they?
They make it look easy, and Brooks just finishes off. He's one of those runners that has a good size, good speed, good acceleration, but he also finishes his run. At the end of this run, he just runs over number 39, Eddie Johnson, gets a couple of extra yards.
Renke and Gobb made the tackle. This is an offensive line which has led the way for 264 yards rushing per game for Notre Dame. And it's given up only 6 sacks, as we mentioned before. Culver and Brooks now in the I formation. Rice gives it. Brooks slides his way up to the line of scrimmage and then leans forward. Quintus McDonald met him almost immediately.
It's simple game plan for Notre Dame right now. Just run the ball. Clock's in their favor. Penn State on the other side of the ball has to make something happen. They have to gamble. They have to come up with a turnover. And then they have to get Saka in the game and hope that he can ignite the offense.
Lou Holtz sends in Mark Green and Ricky Waters. Eilers and Brooks will come out for the Irish. It'll be 2nd down and 9 from the 43. Play action. Rice on the waggles, gone deep. Waters is open. And it's incomplete. He was out of bounds. Oh, so close. Brian Chismar was out there in the neighborhood as a defensive back for Penn State, but Waters was open, and Rice really aired it out.
And you see what Rice did that time. He rolled to the near sideline. He got the defense to move that direction. Then he got his mismatch. Ricky Waters, 4.4 speed against the hero, strong safety slash linebacker Brian Chismar, almost a completion.
Good look at Waters. Let's talk about Tony Rice as well. You know, he hasn't been the same quarterback since the Cotton Bowl last year, where he completed just 45% of his passes, 4 interceptions. Now he's had only 5 interceptions for the year.
And it's a growing in confidence that's a difference.
3rd and 9. He loops this one over the pursuit of the Penn State defense to Brooks, and Brooks loses a yard on the little swing pass. Right now, let's go downstairs to Leslie Visser. Leslie?
Tim, Pete Graham, the backup Irish quarterback, says that this is a team of destiny. He notes that Frank Leahy was hired 11 years after Newt Rockne, that Dan Devine was hired 11 years after Ara Parseghian, and Lou Holtz was hired 11 years after Dan Devine. He added that the Irish won national championships in '66 and '77, so they're right on schedule again this year. Oh, and Pete's number, 11. Tim?
I guess that means, Leslie, that Penn State, which won the national championship 82 and 86, will win it again in 90. Sean Connors, the punter, and this one is taken by Terry Smith. Fair catch, and Penn State will have the ball. 35-yard punt, no return. 14 seconds remain, 3rd period.
You talk about his paper Paterno, paper lion. It's about how he's feeling, boy. It's been a long year. Joe Paterno trying to avoid the first losing season of his 23-year career at Penn State.
Now, let me get this straight.
Yes.
Paterno coached you in high school.
George Paterno did. Joe and George both went to Brooklyn Prep High School. We were separated by time, of course.
Saka's first play at quarterback, and it's just a straight handoff, gain of 1, and that should be the last play of the 3rd period. Wes Pritchett made the tackle. Lonergan's numbers, he was 3 for 15, 39 yards, and 1 interception, did not complete a pass after the first quarter. So that's the end of the 3rd period, with Notre Dame leading 21-3 over Penn State. College football on CBS Sports will return after this message and a word from your local stations.
Football. Today's CFA game is sponsored by Federal Express, who remind you that it's not just a package, it's your business. Emerson Radio Corporation, Emerson, fine-tune your life. And by Michelob. One taste will tell you why the night belongs to Michelob.
Notre Dame scored first with 5:15 remaining in the first quarter. Tony Rice on a 2-yard bootleg play. Then a 22-yard run by Mark Green for a touchdown in the second quarter. It was 14-0. Notre Dame. Eric Eates hit a 52-yard field goal at the end of the first half to end it. It was 14-3. And then here in the third quarter, Tony Rice to Raghib Ismail, 68 yards. And it's 21-3. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, and unbeaten. Second down and 9. The ball on the 25 for Tony Saka, who just came into the game for Penn State. Saka drills this ball, and it is complete to David Daniels, number 26, out at the 43-yard line. Rice having a pretty good day for the Irish. Turnovers, 2 for Penn State, 3 for Notre Dame. Total offense, well, it's been all Notre Dame thus far.
454 yards. Penn State only 164 yards. On that last play, you can see the difference in velocity on Saka's ball versus Lonergan's.
Strong-arm quarterback, 6'5", 202 pounds. First down, drills this one complete. And it's incomplete. No, he had it. And I thought the ground caused the fumble, which is impossible, but now they call it incomplete. The hit was made by George Streeter. Right now, let's take you back to our New York studios. Jim Nance for this college update. Jim?
A second quarter at Ames, Iowa. Barry Sanders extends his NCAA record with touchdown number 32 on the season. He has 77 yards rushing to this point. That made it 14-3 Cowboys. But right back came the Cyclones of Iowa State, and Curtis Warren, 22 yards out, 14-10, Oak State 10 minutes before the half. Let's go back to South Bend.
We have holding on the offense. It'll still be first down, but it'll be 1st and 20.
That holding call was from the last play you saw where Gash dropped the pass from Saka. So they move him back. It'll be 1st down and 20, the ball on the 33.
Penn State, some key penalties. That's their 5th penalty. They've been penalized 34 yards today. A couple of critical ones. It destroys your offensive rhythm. Penn State has had none of that today.
Gash and Thompson line up behind Saka. This is Thompson. Nice cut inside across the 40, out to the 47-yard line. Leroy Thompson's been strong today. Came in with a 3.7 yard per carry average. That gained for 14 yards.
You get an idea of why the sophomore from Knoxville, Tennessee, was considered the best running back in the state of Tennessee. He has that great speed. Really hasn't shown what they thought he would yet. That time, a nice flash.
He's got 11 carries, 49 yards this afternoon. 2nd and Oh, good block on the pursuit. And Saka hits this completion at the 35. David Daniels makes the catch.
What a nice block by Leroy Thompson on Mike Stonebreaker coming on the blitz at linebacker. And one of the biggest complaints that Joe Paterno had was that his running backs do not block. See Stonebreaker coming? See that block right there by Thompson? It gives Saka some time to throw the ball. Joe Paterno was very forthright last night when he said, hey, our running backs won't block. That's why we can't get anything going offensively.
How about the agility of Stonebreaker, though? Never went down and almost still got there. First down at the 35. This is Thompson. Gets a block on the corner and follows him up to the 33. Jeff Hall makes the tackle. They love it here at Notre Dame.
Eats. His name is Eats.
It'll be second down and 8, ball on the 33. Leroy Thompson hit immediately at the 39 by Wes Pritchett.
Penn State tried a little razzle-dazzle with the reverse. Pritchett didn't buy it. An aggressive Notre Dame defense forcing the issue right here. They dominated the line of scrimmage all day. Penn State has had very little chance. They simply have to put the ball up and hope for the best. Get it to Timpson.
That's a loss of 5. It'll be 3rd and 13. Good look at Lou Holtz. High formation. 2 receivers, bottom of the screen. 3rd and 13. Saka now on the waggle is in trouble and throws this one away. He had a whole lot of pressure coming from big 69 George Williams, and Todd Light came on the blitz. Look at Tim Freeman, who was carried off the field in the first half, now back out on crutches. No word on the extent of the injury, but he ought to put a sock on that foot because it's cold here.
Must be pretty chilly. Exactly. It looks like he has that foot wrapped up. There's probably some ice on it already, so his sock wouldn't do him much good.
Word is the x-rays were negative, and it's a bad sprain on that ankle. Dolkowski with the fake punt. He's looking to throw, and he throws it out of bounds. About 2 rows deep. Terry Smith was the guy who threw the pass.
Notre Dame not fooled when you're ahead 21-3 and you know you have an inept offense. Tricks are expected. Joe Paterno couldn't fool Lou Holtz that time.
Well, it's also should be noted here that if Notre Dame's paying attention, they know that Terry Smith is not a punter.
Exactly. He's a wide receiver. He also can throw the ball fairly well.
Look at Joe smiling. We'll be back. A cold, damp day in South Bend, Indiana. The rain has held off, though. Notre Dame has poured it on Penn State, 21-3. 12 minutes, 10 seconds remain in the ball game. Tim Brandt and John Dockery with you.
Tony Rice having a great day. He's almost thrown for 200 yards, and he's also thrown this touchdown to Rocket Ismail. Take a look at it right here. 68 yards. Not a perfect throw. Ismail waits for it, takes it in for the score. Notre Dame 21-3 over Penn State.
It's a good thing he waited. Rice had to let him. He could have been in Elkhart, Indiana by now. He can fly. First down at the 38. Rice options the end. Tries to get to the corner and doesn't. So he'll lose a yard. They'll mark it at the 36-yard line, and Dave Zott of Penn State made the tackle along with Rick Schoenwolf.
Rice is doing it all for Notre Dame today. You look at his passing yardage, it's up around 200. You look at his running yardage, he's over 50 on 12 carries. So Tony Rice is just taking control of this Notre Dame offense, which is it hasn't exactly been a Mona Lisa, but certainly a dominant offensive performance against a decent Penn State defensive team.
Second down and 13 for Rice, and he's going deep with it. Incomplete. Not even close. You know, you mentioned, John Dockery, the youth of this Notre Dame team. They don't redshirt here. The 1988 roster includes only 3 redshirts, and that's because they sat out from injury or some other circumstance and were allowed to come back. But they don't redshirt here at Notre Dame when every other school in the country, virtually every school, redshirts.
And Lou Holtz is fairly definitive on that point. He said, hey, we have a good chance to win the national championship without redshirting. And when you look at this, you look at the offense, there are only 2 senior starters on this offensive team. Tackle Andy Heck and the tailback Mark Green. So the future looks bright for Notre Dame.
Rice on 3rd and 13. Feels the backside pressure, escapes across the 40 to the 44-yard line and carries a tackler up to the 45.
You know, you look at Tony Rice, and he really provides the extra dimension that you must have at quarterback in today's college football game. You look at a Major Harris, you look at Darnell Dickinson, you look at a Rodney Peete, the guys with the escapability, ability to throw on the run, and also to get yardage on their own.
Rice limped a little bit coming off the field that time. 4th down and 3. The Irish will have to punt. 10 minutes and 45 seconds remain in the ball game, and Sean Connor is the punter for Notre Dame. Gets off a wobbly kick. Terry Smith will back up and take this one on the 17. And Smith looks around and doesn't have one blocker in the area for Penn State. 38-yard punt, 5-yard return. So with 10 minutes and 25 seconds remaining, it's 21-3. Well, I guess everybody's wondering if, in fact, they are the best team in the nation. 21-3, they lead Penn State. Beat Miami earlier in the year. Brown and John Jarrett now the setbacks behind Saka of Penn State. 1st down and 10 at the 23. Saka stands tall and now lets this ball fly. Incomplete. It was thrown at David Daniels, but the coverage was solid on that side. Don't forget, coming up after this game, it'll be Oklahoma, Nebraska, the 7th and 8th ranked teams in the nation. Oklahoma rolls into that Big 8 showdown, led by Charles Thompson. Jamel Holloway still not back as a starter, and Thompson now leads the Sooners. They'll be going against the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. They too have a pretty fair country quarterback in Steve Taylor. Big 8 title, the Orange Bowl. That's all coming up next here on CBS.
You talk about 2 scoring machines. Nebraska averaging 42 points a game. Oklahoma not far behind at 32 a game.
Gary Brown was the ball carrier. Just to keep you updated on that game coming up, both teams unbeaten in the Big 8.
You know, you look at Oklahoma's domination recently, and I still have to like Oklahoma. I think Charles Thompson is that dimension at quarterback that we've been talking about here today. Penn State doesn't have it. Notre Dame does have it. And Tony Rice, I think Oklahoma has it as well. But also, you look at Steve Taylor. He's been quietly one of the best quarterbacks of the year in college football.
3rd and 7 for Saka. Throws this one across the middle, incomplete. I think it's Tom Osborne's year.
You do?
I do. I think it's Nebraska. We'll take this one today against Oklahoma.
Well, I mean,
well, what do I know?
What do you know? When you look at Steve Taylor, he's certainly that kind of a quarterback, a guy who's already accounted for some 23 touchdowns. So certainly they have the firepower, but the game, you know where it is, bad weather in Norman, Oklahoma.
Except those 2 teams, if you look back traditionally over that series, do better on the other team's playing field.
We're going to find out later today.
Doug Hilkowski is on to punt. It's a high tail wagger that'll take Ricky Waters back to about the 35. Oh, good coverage by Penn State. Tackle was made almost immediately by Sherrod Range. Range has played a fine football game. 39-yard punt, -3 on the return. 9 minutes, 28 seconds remain in the ball game. 1st down, Notre Dame. Bang straight ahead. The flag will be thrown inside, and I think there's going to be holding called. Bob Morosco, the right tackle, made the stop, but there is a flag. And it is holding. That'll move the Irish back. So it'll remain first down and make it 20 yards for a first.
As you look at some of the scores coming across the CBS Sports Wire, what a weekend in college football. Look at some of the great games. I mean, we talked about Nebraska at Oklahoma, Southern Cal.
We have holding on the offense, 10 yards, still first down.
How about Harvard-Yale, one you're familiar with, the nation's oldest continuous rivalry. Started back in 1875. I think that's when you lettered.
The game being played in Cambridge today, and not much of a year for either team. Last year, of course, you know, and the nation knows that Harvard was the Ivy League champion. That game doesn't have any bearing on the championship this year.
First down and 20 for the Irish. Good spin move inside by Brooks, but I think he still loses a yard.
Tim, you talk about some of those great games. Southern Cal at UCLA, Syracuse at West Virginia, Major Harris. Syracuse, West Virginia, of course, undefeated, and Miami at LSU, Baton Rouge.
That'll test Mike Archer. That would be the marquee matchup on any other Saturday, but as you mentioned, there are some great ones. Second down and 21 for the Irish. 8 minutes, 30 seconds remain in the ball game, and Tony Rice is under pressure. And he'll be sacked. Only the 7th sack of the year on Tony Rice and the Notre Dame offense.
You know, while we're talking about the great games, I have a scenario. Let me throw it out to you. Syracuse, okay, beats West Virginia. West Virginia then has a loss. Miami beats LSU. Notre Dame wins here today, but next week they lose to USC. UCLA then beats USC today. Does that mean that once beaten winner of the Oklahoma-Nebraska game faces Miami in the Orange Bowl for the national championship?
I don't know, but I hope you don't give a quiz.
Possible, though. A lot of things have to happen. Interesting scenario still left. Notre Dame does not have the national championship locked up yet, is what I'm trying to say.
Third down and 27. This is Brooks off the right side. And again, he's shut down quickly. So the Penn State defense continues to do its job. It's given up a couple of big plays, but it is now toughened against the run.
And you asked Lou Holtz about the rest of his season. And remember what he said to us?
This is the end, he thought.
Yeah, he said, this is the last game. Do we have another one? He said, after we take care of this game, then we'll see what the rest of the schedule has. And that's what he's been saying to his team all along. You know what? It's coming down to a 2-game schedule. This week, we have to knock off Penn State. Next week, we have to knock off USC. And then we'll worry about the Fiesta Bowl in West Virginia.
Sean Connor is standing on his own 3-yard line, and he'll be punting deep to Terry Smith. Connor gets off a good punt. Smith will take this one all the way back to the 35-yard line. Gets around the corner, but can't get to the wall. And Eilers runs him out of bounds at the 42. 49-yard punt and a 6-yard return, but with a block and some help, he could have turned that corner. Don't forget tomorrow, it all starts with the NFL today. 12:30 Eastern Time. Chicago against Tampa Bay. A marquee game right up top. Chicago seems to be getting it here with a big win over Washington last week. Some of you will get Phoenix against Houston. The Cardinals are riding high. Or Detroit against Green Bay. And the late games, Philadelphia against the Giants. Or LA and Atlanta. Saka's pass was intended for Gary Brown, incomplete.
You know, you talk about Phoenix being on a roll. Of course, they're tied with the Giants in the NFC East, but they got a problem because Neil Lomax hurt last week. He's out with 2 to 4 weeks with a knee injury. Cliff Stout at quarterback for the Phoenix Cardinals. Against Houston, boy, are they tough in the Dome. I saw them a few weeks back against Washington. They're 5-1 in the Dome.
Of course, that's not a bad replacement to have. Cliff Stout, 10-year veteran, finished second in the USFL, only to Jim Kelly. A lot of playing time. Saka now 2 of 6. Oh, and I'm telling you something. Brown is hit immediately by Jeff Ong. The big 246-pound junior came through and just nailed Gary Brown.
And as you look at this Penn State defense, you get a sense of not only talent, but quickness and speed. That's what they lacked last year. End of the season, remember, Tim, they just wore down. The entire Notre Dame team wore down. They lost their 3 final games. This year, Lewis got them going with a lot of depth.
Yeah, they've got a great strength program at Notre Dame now with Scott Reardon, who's 6'5", 290 himself.
You better
than 13. Saka's in a whole lot of trouble, and Saka is sacked. Frank Stamms is the guy who will get credit for that sack. He now has 4.5 sacks on the year.
Frank Stamms is a designated rush backer, reminiscent of his game. Take a look at him here, number 30, rushing outside, reminiscent of his game against Miami and Steve Walsh, where he caused some fumbles and actually was a one-man wrecking crew that day.
His name, Forte Stamotopoulos. They call him Frank Stamms. 4.5 sacks on the year, 49 tackles now. He's quite an athlete. Doug Hilkowski will punt for Penn State. Wobbly spiral. And it rolls down to the 24-yard line. That punt started off as a wobbler and then started to spiral, and now a fight breaks out on the field. Boy, the Notre Dame bench started to empty, and Lou Holtz was out there like a rocket himself. Look at it. Lou Holtz is right in the middle of that melee, pulling his players away.
Lou Holtz doesn't want any of this. He talks about discipline and self-control. And that time, Ricky Waters lost some of his self-control. Of course, the frustration on the Penn State side of the field is enormous all year long. And Lou is unhappy. Hey, we're the national champions. We're undefeated. We're about to go 10-0. Guys, don't lose your cool.
Two of the best college coaches here today. A lot of class on both sides. Joe Paterno, Lou Holtz.
You got 2 dead ball fouls. They're both personal fouls. They're both against each team. They offset. We have a personal foul against the kickers. They have a personal foul against the receiving team. They both offset.
We're going to take a look at this again. And if you watch the upper right part of your screen, you'll see it breaking out right there. Number 8 takes, oh yeah, okay, right there. See it? That's number 12. I think Ricky Waters comes in with a late hit, and then the battle ensues. That's David Jaderick, free safety 4.
Tim Sweeney was involved as well. First down and 10 at the 24. Tony Brooks around the left side. Gets knocked out of bounds at the 25. Let's go downstairs to Leslie Visser.
Tim, I'm down here with Phil Mata, president of the Fiesta Bowl. Phil, we know that the invitations aren't official until this evening, but what kind of a matchup do you expect from West Virginia and Notre Dame?
Well, assuming it's West Virginia and Notre Dame,
come on,
we expect a great football game. If they're both undefeated, then we expect a significant great football game. But I think it's going to be a good game either way.
With Notre Dame still having to play second-ranked SC, would you prefer the invitations went out a week later?
No, not at all. We think Notre Dame is at the top of our list, regardless of the outcome of that game.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Back to you, Tim.
All right, Leslie. That should be a terrific matchup.
But I love the bowl, representatives. If it should turn out that way. Come on, Phil. We know it's going to turn out that way. And you know what? West Virginia can play Notre Dame tough. Major Harris is a major talent in college football. He has an experienced offense, a solid defense, so they match up pretty well against Notre Dame.
Third down at 6, the ball on the 28. 4 minutes now remaining in the ball game. Rice on the waggle, has a lot of pressure and has a lot of room to run to midfield. And into Penn State territory, he flies down to the 44-yard line. Finally tripped up by Sherrod Range. Gain of 27 yards for Tony Rice.
What more can you say about Tony Rice? So shaky last year when he was forced into action for Notre Dame. Here, showing poise, does not find a receiver, knows it's late in the game, takes off on the run, eats up the clock. Tony Rice has done it all for Notre Dame today.
Rice comes out of the ball game now for Notre Dame and gets quite an ovation. Kent Graham comes in and will be the quarterback for Notre Dame. Peter Graham just hands the ball off. It'll be second down now as you get a look at Tony Rice.
You know, it was interesting as you talk about Tony Rice. Lou Holtz actually suggested that he get himself a dartboard to help with his touch and passing. So he got himself the dartboard, and who knows? Maybe it's made a difference. First 2 games, he was only at 25% pass. The last 7 games since the dartboard, 7 touchdowns, 800 yards, 55% pass.
Waters around the left side, gets down to the 35-yard line. Rice now 10 of 18, 193 yards and a touchdown. Right now, let's go back to New York and Jim Nance. Jim?
Well, Tim, here's word on some tight ball games. Maryland missed out on a 2-point conversion with 1 minute to go. Virginia holds on for the victory. Duke has just gone final, scoring the winning touchdown with 40 seconds left over the Tar Heels. And it's halftime in Ames, Iowa. Barry Sanders has 95 yards rushing as the Cowboys lead by only 1. Let's go back to South Bend.
Here, Jim, 2:35 remaining in the ball game. Notre Dame leads Penn State 21-3. Peter Graham is the quarterback. And he gives it straight ahead to Ryan Mahako.
Senior quarterback. Coming up next, number 7 Nebraska versus number 9 Oklahoma. You know, I mentioned I was on the phone to our colleague Pat Hayden out there, who's out there with Brent Musburger, and you know, Pat was telling me, you look at Oklahoma, and he was talking to Charles Thompson, so tentative, frightened last year as a freshman. This year as a sophomore, just confident, exuding a feeling that he's going to be the man to do it for Oklahoma.
2nd down and 8 at the 32 for Graham as he gives it straight ahead to Culver. Penn State 5-5. You saw a distraught player on the sidelines. 50 straight non-losing seasons. This will be the first losing season in that time period.
Joe Paterno is so successful for so many years. 212 career victories, 23 years, 2 national championships, 19 bowls. I mean, he's just done it all at Penn State. This is a down year.
.127 remains. We'll be back. 7 remains here in South Bend. Right now, let's go to Norman, Oklahoma. Brent Musburger. Brent?
Well, Tim, we'll try to sort out the Orange Bowl picture for you down here in Norman, Oklahoma. The Cornhuskers and the Sooners, a toss-up down in these parts. And despite the foul weather, we'll have a sellout crowd on hand. Now let's go back to you for the final minute 27 seconds in South Bend.
21-3 here in South Bend. 1:27 remaining in the ball game. We'll get you out to that one as soon as possible. At the conclusion of this, it comes up next. Oklahoma, Nebraska. Pete Graham is the quarterback. Steve Bellis, the other quarterback, is now a tailback. 3rd down and 8 at the 32, and this is Bellis. Bellis, a senior quarterback, playing tailback, and he gets back possibly to the line of scrimmage. May have lost a couple.
That's part of what college football is all about. They introduce the seniors before the game. Lou Holtz is getting his seniors into the game right now. But, you know, you're talking about that Oklahoma-Nebraska game coming up. What about the freshman running back for Oklahoma, Mike Gaddis? Remember a couple of weeks back, 213 yards versus Oklahoma State, and, of course, Anthony Stafford. So that is a dynamic offensive team.
Loss of 3. They'll call it 4th down and 11. Bellis comes out. Graham has backside pressure, sets the screen up nicely, right side, big hole, a lot of blocks. Inside the 30 to the 25-yard line goes Joe Girard.
Boy, what an afternoon for Notre Dame. Lou Holtz about to go 10-0. One big hurdle next week, and then the Fiesta Bowl. He's got USC, and then, of course, West Virginia. Could be his first, would be his first ever national championship.
Giroux picked up the 1st down, and with 37 seconds left, Lou Holtz is getting as many people in the ball game as he can. Well, we mentioned that Lou Holtz has never been 9-0 at this period. Now he'll move to 10-0, and it'll be the first time he's ever been ranked number 1 this late in the season.
And I'd have to say he's way ahead of schedule. Lou Holtz only in his 3rd year here rebuilding Notre Dame has him back to the national championship.
A lot of pressure, balls loose, intercepted by Notre Dame. Sieg's pass was picked off by the Fighting Irish. And with 30 seconds left, Notre Dame gets it back.
When it's going wrong, it's going wrong. It's as simple as that. Nothing has gone well for Joe Paterno and Penn State today. going to pass the fumble in midair. Notre Dame comes up with the recovery. Actually, an interception.
Crozier got the interception. It was knocked loose by Frank Stams again. First interception of the year for Crozier.
You know, I was talking about that, you know, a lot about Oklahoma's offense, but look at Nebraska with Steve Taylor and Ken Clark, the tailback, you know, over 1,300 yards. Hardly anybody around the country has heard of Ken Clark.
Graham picks up maybe a yard. CBS, Dirty Dancing, followed by Raising Miranda, Simon and Simon, and West 57. Coming up later tonight on CBS News Magazine, West 57, 10 years after the mass suicide at Jonestown. Goes back to Guyana with Tim Stone, once Jim Jones' trusted friend who became his fiercest enemy. That's tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Central, here on CBS.
You know, you got the impression coming in here that Notre Dame expected to win. The crowd has been relatively quiet. They said, hey, we're going to 10-0. Yeah, we have a showdown next week.
Pete Graham hands off, and that'll be the last play of the game. The Irish remain unbeaten, 10-0. 21-3 over Penn State. Well-coached, well-disciplined, big, strong, fast team here for the Fighting Irish.
And for Joe Paterno, a down season. First losing season in 23 years for him. First losing season in 50 years at Penn State.
The Chevrolet most valuable players of the game. Tony Rice, the quarterback from Notre Dame, and from Penn State, Sherrod Range. Check in the amount of $1,000 will be donated by Chevrolet to each school's general scholarship fund to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields. Range 2 interceptions. Rice extremely strong. Notre Dame wins it 21-3.